we made a big bet on ghost kitchens, and we always believed that the problem with ghost kitchens is that no one likes the name ghost kitchen. There was no heart and no soul. If people didn't know that there were humans making food at a location, it made it really hard from a marketing standpoint. So we partnered with Cloud Kitchens. That's Travis Kalanick's brand. We opened up on the Aztec Food Hub as well as the Barrio Food Hub. We worked really hard to make those concepts work, and unfortunately we just didn't have the sales to support those locations. But what we did learn in that process are the principles that we are going to take to our new location on the Navy Exchange.
What were those principles?
The principles are that we can leverage technology. We have a lot of tech partners. As you know, our tech stack runs very deep. We have deep relationships with a lot of different people. I go and I speak, at multiple conferences.
It's on my list of things to talk about.
The tech stack is deep for a reason, because we know that leveraging technology can help us be more profitable, be more sustainable, and serve better barbecue.
This episode made possible by Restaurant Systems Pro. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, owner of Cali BBQ and Cali BBQ Media. Somebody you probably heard of before if you're in the world of media and restaurants. My good friend, Shawn Walchef. Shawn, are you feeling unstoppable today?
I am so unstoppable today. We got you to stop. Eric has been traveling all over the United States, and he's stopped
momentarily.
In Cali.
Slowed down,
and he's here.
My first California interview in this new normal, living the road, and dude, I'm super stoked to be here in San Diego to pick up where we left off. The last time I had you on the show, we decided it was December of 2019.
Yes,
it was the last time I was in California doing interviews. Actually, that's not true. I flew out here once to San Francisco, but it wasn't like it is now. We're gonna pick up where we left off, man. I can't wait. A lot has happened in the world of Shawn Walchef and Cali BBQ. We're gonna pull back the layers, go deep. I can't wait to find out why you are where you are today and why you're doing what you're doing today. But let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
Stay curious, get involved, ask for help.
Stay curious, get involved, ask for help. Dude, that's great. Why does that resonate with you today? Why did you choose that quote today?
So since the last time you were on the show, we have dug much deeper into our thesis, and I've started to do a lot of work of why we believe so much in storytelling. And it goes back to my grandfather. I never met my father. My grandfather raised me, and I was thinking about the lessons and principles that he taught me that are profound, that I use on a daily basis. And number one is curiosity. He was always learning. He was obsessed with learning. He was obsessed with reading. That's how he got out of the village in Bulgaria, built a life as a medical doctor, eventually got into real estate development, and gave me the opportunity to have a father. But he was obsessed with curiosity. I know that I know nothing.
Right.
Especially the more that I do media, the more that I do restaurants, I know that I'm just at the beginning of my journey. And curiosity are the type of people I want to surround myself with. Yeah. People that ask good questions, that listen with intent. Curiosity only takes you so far. If you don't get involved, nothing will happen. So like curious people can open up a book, can listen to a podcast, can go to a trade show, can take a course. But if you get stuck in curiosity and you don't actually do the action, the uncomfortable action, nothing's going to come from it. And finally, asking for help, which is one of the most difficult lessons. It's raising your hand and being vulnerable and knowing that I don't have all the answers. I need to ask for help and find people in my circle or maybe outside of my circle that can help me and want to help me.
Yeah, I think that last part, asking for help, is something I'm trying to be better about. When you have big dreams, big aspirations, you have to learn that you can't do it alone.
Yep.
It takes an army. And I'm really trying to be better about vocalizing that, saying like, this is what I'm trying to do in the world. If you see yourself in my world, don't be shy, reach out to me. And I would like to talk more about getting involved, but I think we should save that until later. So sure. 2019.
Yep.
That's when we last spoke. A lot has happened since then. Before we get into where you are today, or the story of how you got to where you are today, what's going on, where are you today? Like, paint that big picture.
Sure.
Like, what's your life look like today?
Big picture is I have my little girl. Last time you were here, she was 5 months old. She's going to be turning 5 years old. My son is going to be turning 7. So I'm a dad. My wife, she's been an incredible support of not only the barbecue business since we opened in 2008, but the media business. I just got back from Chicago, so National Restaurant Association show, 55,000 restaurant professionals, 2,200 vendors.
It's intense.
3 days of content. We did the amount of shows that our team did. We had 2 family style episodes. We worked with 14 different brands. We did digital hospitality podcasts.
Did you say 5 terabytes?
5 terabytes.
I think it's what you told me.
5.2 terabytes.
Sorry, I cut you short. Keep going.
No, 5.2 terabytes. But these were our show stats, and I bring that up because I couldn't do that if my wife wasn't the supportive person that she is, letting me go and chase my dreams, knowing that as much as we love the restaurant business, we're also in the storytelling business.
Right.
So we're about to open up our 3rd location, which is officially going to be at the San Diego Navy base.
Congratulations, dude.
Thank you. And it's going to be an 800 square foot location. We're taking over a former Kentucky Fried Chicken. The brands that are in there are Rubio's, Five Guys, Pizza Hut, Subway, Starbucks, Cold Stone. So these are all national brands.
Damn, dude. The only local guy.
So we're the only local
That's
guy.
awesome.
It's taken us about 1.5 years, almost 2 years to get through the bid process. We've got an approval. Now we're we just got deep clean the space, and pretty soon we're going to be putting in equipment, hopefully in the next couple weeks here.
Sick.
And we hope to be open, in the next month.
So 3 brick and mortars. We're sitting at the original.
Well, no, not 3 brick and mortars. So we have the original brick and mortar, which we're in
Yep.
right now, 5,700 square feet in Spring Valley. This is the original 2008. We opened full liquor license, sports bar, 250 seats. We have 4 Old Hickory smokers. So the idea was to build a hub and smoke
Got it.
model. Hub and smoke, not
I like
hub and
it.
smoke.
I got it. I like what
And
you
the
did there.
idea was, the last time you were here was pre-pandemic.
Right.
So we hadn't even made the switch to toast at that point. We were
Okay.
still on Aloha.
I remember the unpackaging.
which is kind of crazy.
So, the one brick and mortar, the OG, where we're
Yep.
sitting today.
Yep.
Your second location is
Second location is in Sports Arena. It's a 200 square foot friendly ghost kitchen,
Yeah.
delivery and takeout only. And then we have 2 other locations in Snapdragon Stadium.
I met the guy that helped you get into that location.
Who's that?
Do you know? Last name Langley. Is that
James Langley?
Yeah.
Is that what he said?
Do you know that he's?
Of course I know
Fred,
James
you know
Langley.
he's Fred's brother, Fred from Restaurant Systems
I do.
Pro.
I do.
Small world.
He
isn't
said
it?
he got us into the.
He said he helped.
I don't know about that. I will
Call me
challenge
out,
James.
James.
Where are you? What did you do to help? I didn't see you packing anything. I didn't see you negotiating anything. I love James. He's a phenomenal person.
I met him for one night.
He's brilliant. But I will call you out, James.
He's
You didn't help us.
He's a
do
lot of energy,
anything.
that guy.
I'm still waiting for your help. By the way.
He was a lot of fun. The one night I got to know him a little
Yeah.
bit. We sat next to each other during dinner. But so that's okay. So that is your second location.
Sure.
And then the third location is what you just mentioned.
Correct.
And
And then we also have the stadium location.
So
stadium locations are in Snapdragon. We have 2 locations inside Snapdragon Stadium where the San Diego State Aztecs play football, 35,000 seat venue.
got it. And then your media is Cali BBQ. That's the mother brand. Where
Correct.
you have influencers, restaurant influencers.
Oh, yes. So our shows,
Yep.
we have Digital Hospitality, is the original show that we've been doing since 2017. We have Restaurant Influencers, which is hosted on entrepreneur.com.
Yep.
Then we have our LinkedIn Live series. So we do 2 LinkedIn Live calls every single week that have now become repurposed onto our digital hospitality feed, but it's extra episodes. It's part of our digital hospitality community that it's kind of like a live show.
Okay.
And then we have 2 other shows that we produce for clients. One, Incentivio, Data Delicacies. Arun, he is the host of that show. And then Greg Majewski hosts Room for Seconds. He's the CEO and founder of Craveworthy Brands.
Got it. So you got a lot going on. I wanted to start with that big picture.
Yep.
So we're going to reverse engineer this.
Sure.
I think a lot of people are asking, how the hell do you run 3 restaurants? And I think I lost count on the amount of shows. 5 shows?
6 shows.
6 shows.
Yeah, 6 weekly shows.
Yeah, that's wild. So today,
Tell me about it.
Before we go back to 2019, what is your mission today with what you're doing?
Mission today, I think it's going back to what my grandfather asked me to do. Back when I was traveling in Spain, I was actually studying abroad my junior year. He asked me, Shawn, I need someone to come home and help me. I need you to come back. I want to write my life story. And I left University of San Diego. I left for the University of San Diego. So I was at the University of Colorado. I transferred while I was in Spain after I got off a phone call with him. And I said, okay, Grandpa, I'm going to come home to help you. And then he decided to fly out to pick me up when I finished my study abroad for 6 weeks. We traveled and studied to figure out how to write his autobiography.
Okay, so is the mission today to continue that legacy, that story?
Now the mission is to help other brands do what we've learned how to do.
Okay.
You know, we are here sitting in Spring Valley, and we have a lot of attention from a lot of incredible people that we love, respect, and admire in the industry that look to us for, you know, advice on podcasting, advice on Instagram, advice on TikTok, advice on YouTube, basically online storytelling. And what we do for free, you know, we give away through all of our content. And then we have clients, you know, like I mentioned, Craveworthy Brands and Incentivio, where we're actually producing shows, the same shows that we've learned how to create for ourselves. Now we produce those shows for other brands.
All right, cool. You gave me a lot to work with. Thank you. So going back to 2019, where were you in 2019? Paint the picture.
2019, we were here. We were running a full-service sports bar and restaurant and focused on events. We were still hosting the Spring Valley Tailgate and Barbecue Festival, which was an amateur barbecue festival that we hosted for 10 years in front of our restaurant, where we would shut down the street. We would have 30 different food vendors, barbecue teams, live band, thousands of people in the streets, full day event, you know, coordinating with, you know, the sheriff's department, the fire department, the Chamber of Commerce. It took 9 to 12 months of planning every single year, and that was a focus for us. The pandemic hit, and obviously our focus as a brand was to lean more into the media side of our business and more into the digital side of distribution of barbecue.
Okay.
So how do we sell more barbecue to more people in San Diego? Instead of focusing on how to get people to Spring Valley, which I had spent, I mean, whatever that is, we're 16 years.
How far out are we from San Diego right now?
So the city of San Diego is probably, don't quote me on this, about 10 miles away.
Approximately.
Yeah, approximately 10 miles away. But if you were, you know, landed in San Diego Airport and to get to Spring Valley would be about 25 minutes, depending on traffic.
So you spent 16 years trying to get people from San Diego
all
to
over
Cali.
San Diego to come to Spring
But
Valley.
now the reverse was, well, let's get our food to San Diego.
That's correct.
Okay.
Get it to San Diego, get it to Chula Vista, get it all over the county using catering, using ghost kitchens, using stadiums, using airports, whatever means
the
possible.
Amazon of barbecue.
The Amazon of barbecue. Slow food fast.
I love
That's the idea. Yeah.
Brand master over here. So that was the goal,
Yep.
and you were going to use media to get the word out.
Correct.
Okay. And then, so I guess let's just start there. Start telling the story.
Sure.
So what was that strategy? Like, what did you learn along the way? What
So
were the challenges with that?
A lot of the challenges, we made a big bet on ghost kitchens. And we always believed that the problem with ghost kitchens is that no one likes the name ghost kitchen. There was no heart and no soul. If people didn't know that there were humans making food at a location, it made it really hard from a marketing standpoint. So we partnered with Cloud Kitchens. That's Travis Kalanick's brand. We opened up on the Aztec Food Hub as well as the Barrio Food Hub. We worked really hard to make those concepts work, and unfortunately, we just didn't have the sales to support those locations. Okay. But what we did learn in that process are the principles that we are going to take to our new location on the Navy Exchange.
What were those principles?
The principles are that we can leverage technology. We have a lot of tech partners. As you know, our tech stack runs very deep. We have deep relationships with a lot of different people. I go and I speak, you know, at multiple conferences.
It's on my list of things to talk about.
The tech stack is deep for a reason, because we know that leveraging technology can help us be more profitable, be more sustainable, and serve better barbecue.
Yeah, there's no question that in the future you're going to have to learn how to do more with less.
Yep.
And it's automation, technology, AI, whatever form it might show up. And I definitely want to unpackage that later, where you are when we get to where you are today and what that looks like. So back to the world of ghost kitchens, because this is something I'm interested in, because it was all everybody was talking about just before the pandemic. But once the pandemic happened, we're not going to talk about the pandemic, but we are going to talk about this giant movement during the pandemic where everybody was like, this is the future of restaurants. Do you still feel like that's the case, or what's going on with that?
So I think the problem goes back to the beginning. It goes back to ghost kitchen problem. Like the issue with ghost kitchens, the issues that we had personally as a ghost kitchen is that we can't do it alone. Like, I've already done it alone, getting people to Spring Valley, like literally turning our barbecue business into a media business to get people to care, to come, to drive out to Spring Valley. Right. But once we opened up other locations, we were again alone. We were in locations that people didn't know there were restaurants. They didn't know there were 20 other concepts there. And we were back faced with the same problem that we had back in 2008 and 2009, being like, now we have to put all of our efforts just to sell barbecue in Barrio Logan, or just to sell barbecue at the Aztec Food Hub.
What do you think would have to have been different in order to have a better outcome or a different outcome with the ghost kitchens?
I think, well, I told Travis, I was very fortunate. We were invited to an all hands meeting. Travis Kalanick sat down and interviewed me in front of his whole entire organization. And he was asking me questions about it. What can they do better? And I told him, you have to come out of stealth mode. Anybody that knows anything about cloud kitchens knows that stealth mode is how they've been building, because they want to protect the proprietary.
So when you say they have to come out of stealth mode, you're talking about ghost kitchens?
Ghost kitchens, like cloud kitchens specifically, because that was our partner.
Got it. So cloud kitchens has to come out of stealth mode.
Correct.
Stealth mode is they're flying under the radar.
They're flying under the radar, and they don't want people to know because they're worried about the other competition.
The other competition
meaning other ghost kitchens, correct? Other ghost kitchen concepts.
Okay.
Correct.
So they're just
and I think there needs to be more of a partnership.
Okay.
Like there needs to be a partnership with the landlord and the tenants.
Get into the dynamics of that partnership to help us understand what that looked like. Like paint the picture.
So the picture is it goes back to our experience in events.
Okay.
Back when we first started doing a Taste of San Diego or a Taste of La Mesa back in 2010, 2011, we would go to an event. There'd be 30 restaurants. Of the 30 restaurants, maybe one other restaurant would be on social media promoting the event, and it would be us and that other restaurant. But we would be trying to do marketing for the entire event, and for all the other restaurants. The only way that the event becomes successful is when 5 restaurants, 10 restaurants, 15 restaurants buy into the idea of like, we're all marketing this thing together. This is important to all of us, plus the organizer.
What happens when that scenario where
magic,
all these people
magic
show up,
happens.
We're doing this together. Why?
Magic happens because of the FOMO, because people understand that now it's not just our restaurant, but it's everyone that cares about our restaurant knows, hey, Cali BBQ is going to be at Taste of La Mesa.
Is it because maybe the relationships that are associated with the people that are showing
for sure.
up? People don't show up for brands. They show up for people.
They could show up for humans.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's always why we talk about social media the way we do. As much as we love Cali BBQ, the brand, I know that if I'm not there talking on behalf of Cali BBQ and I hire a social media agency just to post pictures about barbecue, there's going to be a disconnect.
Right. So back to the relationship with Cloud Kitchens and the way that operated. Were you basically contracting out your recipes and having their people execute?
No, we were executing.
Okay.
Yeah, we were executing. It was our space.
So you had your own people there.
Yep, Steven Swiderski was
like a commissary kitchen, basically?
Yep. Not a commissary kitchen, because this was the commissary.
Okay.
We were finishing the food on location.
Got
at
it.
The Cloud Kitchen location.
So help me understand the logistics of that more. I'm just like, honestly, I don't know how they operate.
Yep.
So I'm just trying to wrap my mind around it. But what I am picking up from you is that what was the challenge was people. I guess I'm not fully picking up the challenge that. Unless there's a person or like people behind the brand, like it's this idea that people don't want to show up for just the out, like what's the word I'm looking for? You fill in my blanks. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Or just
so I mean
I'm struggling right now.
I mean part of the issue is that humans are creatures of habit.
Okay.
So if we don't know what's going on, we don't have a reason to change our behavior, and marketing helps change that behavior. So when somebody takes over a location like we are here in Spring Valley, most people, like a benefit of us taking over this location was that it was a restaurant. So we never had to fight that fight, but it was a breakfast restaurant.
Got it.
So we had to do the marketing to get people to come and go, okay, well, it's not a breakfast restaurant anymore. Now it's a barbecue restaurant or it's a sports bar. Like now they know what they're coming for. The issue with most of the ghost kitchens is that the people that are there are hoping and praying. It's kind of like, well, I'll take you back to Chicago. So Chicago, what Cali BBQ Media does, what we've learned how to do really well is how do we help brands that don't do a good job online telling their story to get people to come to their booth.
Yeah.
2,200 vendors, 55,000 restaurant professionals. And people expect just because I open up a booth or I pay the Restaurant Association money for a 10 by 10 or a 10 by 20 and I put some banners up and I have some free water bottles, people are going to come and stop by my booth. Well, that's just not how it works. Humans are going to connect with humans.
Right.
And if you're posting something on LinkedIn or something on Instagram and I'm following you and I have a network of people, I'm like, dude, you got to stop at the restaurant Unstoppable. Like we have to go and stop there because, Eric's going to be he's doing this interview with Pinky Cole Right. And it's going to be happening at 2 p.m. Like, let's make sure to go up and support him.
Got it. So this is what the ghost kitchens were missing. They didn't know how to
This is what they're missing. And my bandwidth wasn't at the capacity to do what I had to do over again. Like the reward, the ROI wasn't worth it for me.
So you had all these outposts throughout San Diego.
Yep.
And you were trying to use the Cali BBQ brand to talk about these things. But where was the traction slipping? Just the fact that you weren't physically there?
I think so.
Okay.
That I wasn't physically there, and that we just didn't have the bandwidth, to be honest with you, to be able to pull off those, those locations. And the fact that they were, most of the sales come through Uber Eats and DoorDash.
Yeah. So when did you decide to like redirect your focus?
We are like right now. So we're literally redirecting our focus right now. I mean, our focus is on the Navy Exchange.
So
like that is our
up until recently,
focus.
You were still putting energy into the cloud kitchen, the ghost kitchen.
Yeah, I mean, probably within the last year. I mean, we've been strategically shifting our focus, knowing that sometimes you fail.
How do you know when it's time to just try something different? Like, what was that breaking point for you? I
think just financially, right? You look at the financials, and like you can keep pouring money into something and thinking that things are going to change, and then figuring out, well, what is the best thing for our brand overall? And what our brand is really good at is telling big stories. And we can tell micro stories that will sell little bits of barbecue, but those little bits of barbecue aren't the same as us working with some of the biggest brands in the restaurant space, telling those stories on a much bigger level. So me allocating my time and attention, and my team's time and attention on what has the biggest impact, it's making those decisions.
What up, Unstoppable restaurant owners and operators? We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that Restaurant Unstoppable and Restaurant Systems Pro, we're taking our relationship to the next level. Beginning in July of 2024, Fred Langley, CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, is making himself available once a week in Restaurant Unstoppable Network to answer all of your restaurant systems questions, whether it's the profit margins. He will look at your P&L. Bring your P&L. He will take a look at that. He will dissect it. He will help you find your profit, whether that be through budgeting, inventory management, costing recipe cards, labor, checklists, you name it. He is a master of restaurant systems, and he's making himself available to you. Fred Langley and Restaurant Systems Pro started as a consulting firm, and for over 16 years, they've been helping their clients increase their profit by 10% or more. What are you waiting for? Click the link below to join our Facebook group, Restaurant Unstoppable Network.
Let's get big picture cloud kitchen for a second, away from your story, and like, where are cloud kitchens today? Do you think that that's still a market, like a valuable?
Absolutely, I think it's not going anywhere. So, it's just trying to figure out what does that look like, because it makes so much sense for a Chick-fil-A or a Starbucks that has a unit in downtown LA that's doing $5 million, and they can no longer take any catering orders, for them to open up a 200 square foot kitchen or 400 square foot kitchen and offset those orders. It is a brilliant use of funds.
And I feel like in that scenario, it's almost not even a ghost kitchen. It's just a offsite line.
Yeah,
and like they're calling it a ghost kitchen, but really it's just like, why are we going to bog down our in-store throughput when we can just, our consumers have, for those who've developed a habit that I want to order through DoorDash or direct from our website or whatever, but they don't want to have it delivered. Why are we bogging down this location when we have lines wrapped around our store with cars? Like, let's just move all those orders to a place off-site so we can do higher throughput, faster throughput. And in that scenario, I see it working really well. But I think and you pointed it out, the key thing you need is like this omnipresent national brand where you aren't doing business with a person, you're doing business with a brand. And they don't care where the fuck it comes from, as long as it shows up in 20 minutes.
I was naive to think that our media side of our business, that I would have the resources to allocate to the additional locations to make it work. Yeah. Like, I was naive to think that because we did it here in Spring Valley that I could do it in Barrio Logan, or I could do it even close to San Diego State.
So was it the allocation of the resources that was the biggest challenge for you?
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, allocation of the resources.
Human resources?
Human resources. It's always going to be human resources. I mean, financial, we allocated significant financial resources that, looking back, what would I have done differently? I would have doubled down on the media side of our business.
So was that in labor or in costs of like hardware, the physical, like rent, all that stuff?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think that's going to be a part of your business model going forward, or maybe bring it back when you get more of a presence in San Diego with a brick and mortar?
No, I don't think. I mean, right now, our focus, like I said, our number one focus is taking care of our military opportunity. Okay. Like, it's such a big opportunity. They do not bring brands in that they don't believe in. And when they do bring them in, it's up to us to prove to them that they were right.
And that's happening now, too.
It's happening right now, 2024.
So let's go back, because so we had the pandemic.
Yep.
You were exploring ghost kitchens during this time. You were really a leader in that space, talking about it, sharing your knowledge too. I remember.
I didn't want to sit on the sidelines and talk about something unless I actually had real world knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to go through a revolution of this ghost kitchen digital delivery revolution and not have real empirical evidence for myself.
Yeah, at that point,
I didn't want to just take, even though I, spend time interviewing the most brilliant minds there are in our space that I respect and admire that are succeeding. Like, I still wanted to see it for myself.
Right.
Well, and now I know for myself.
And it was a weird time too. You could be doing ghost kitchens for
Correct.
3 months and have 3 times as much experience.
Correct.
Than anybody else doing it, because it was such a new thing. So it was like really first to market. Any like macro lessons in terms of like, how to, like, I mean, not to like tear cloud kitchens apart, but do you think their approach of not sharing information was the right approach? Or
no, I mean, like I said, I believe that Travis will figure it out. Yeah. Like, all he needs to do is turn on the media side of his business, where he can start telling, because there are great stories of entrepreneurs that are succeeding. There's a lot that aren't.
Yeah.
Like, let's not bury that. There are a lot that aren't succeeding. While we were there, we were one of the only tenants that was there consistently throughout our 3 years at the Cloud Kitchen location. The ones that are succeeding, you need to tell those stories.
Well, we talked about the national brands that are using it and succeeding. What are the other examples of where it is working?
There's places here in San Diego. I don't know exactly the names of the brands, but I mean, I've come in contact with them where they're opening up more locations. But opening up more locations doesn't necessarily mean
locations.
Cloud locations. Okay. Yeah.
Got it. What about the influencer approach to cloud kitchens, like the Mr. Beast burgers and like those?
The virtual side? I mean, there are successful virtual brands like Wow Bao. I mean, Jeff Alexander, what he's doing with Wow Bao is beyond successful.
Bao is so good.
Have you had it?
I mean, that's
Have you had his bows?
I haven't had his.
You got to have Jeff's bows.
Can I
Jeff's
get him
bows are really good.
In San Diego?
I don't know if you. I'm sure. I think you can. Actually, I think you can.
Is that model where he's more like franchising out the recipes and letting other restaurants execute?
Yes. Yeah. So it's literally a dark kitchen within an existing kitchen.
So being somebody who understands this vertical more than I do, honestly, this isn't my strength. This vertical. What do you think that Wow Bao is doing that other people aren't? Is it
small footprint?
Okay.
Low lift. Easy recipes.
What do you mean by that, small footprint?
Like, I think for somebody to do, I believe Jeff told me it's like, I think you need like a tabletop, like this amount of space. I think this might even be too much space to be able to add a Wow Bao virtual kitchen to your restaurant.
So basically,
so like, we're literally 2 tabletops. Like, you need, I don't know, whatever square footage this is, with literally nothing.
So what happens when do they do that from scratch, or are they getting the bao shipped, and then are they basically just like?
I think they're getting the bao shipped and then heating it. Yeah. So like, it's much lower lift.
So you're basically like, how does that work? Do they have vendors like Costco or like Benny Keith carrying it?
Yeah, they're in like 7,000, I think, grocery stores.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, you order through your vendor, and then you can. That's a really smart business model. Like right there is, if you have something, I'm thinking of like Philly cheesesteak, like egg rolls, because something where it's already done, where you're basically just creating a whole separate brand and menu around a virtual brand. And then when orders come through, if you're the closest
Cisco
kitchen,
and US Foods do it all the time, and they do it under their products. I mean, Costco does it under Kirkland, right?
Yeah.
Like, these are like things that are proven. Amazon does it.
Yeah, I think what's weird about those models is that I think that they're like a flash in the pan, where like people are like, oh, this is cool. Like, I really want to try this because, Mr. Beast is promoting it and I love Mr. Beast. And then they get it and they're like, that was good. I did it. And like, what's the word? I guess the reoccurring revenue from these people. Like, is it like?
I mean, I think that's the challenge. The challenge in any restaurant space is like, we're not going after one sale.
Right.
We're looking at the lifetime value of a customer. Like, anybody that knows restaurants knows that, it's the 20% of people that are going to come back that are going to give you 80% of your business.
Okay.
Right.
Right. So, okay, shifting the story back to you. So you're developing your digital. You already had a pretty big digital presence in 2019.
Yep.
To say.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What was the focus on your presence at that time? Like, what was like the strategy behind your brand building?
I think for us, it's tough to think 2019 because it was so close to the pandemic. When did we went live with Toast? Our biggest issue from switching from Aloha to Toast was online ordering. So that was like the big shift for us of like
why you made the shift.
Correct. Yeah. Because like we could no longer deal with third party online ordering. We had to have our own online ordering that worked seamless with what we wanted to do to get more barbecue to more people. But I think as far as like 2019 pre-pandemic, I think we still thought that, you know, it was a sports bar model. You know, we thought full service restaurant sports bar model, and now looking at 2024 and beyond, we're much more, how do we leverage technology to get more barbecue to more people? You know, we have 4 smokers that we've invested money in, and if I don't fill those smokers with catering orders or with orders for the airport, which we were close, we got in the finals for the airport deal. We'd lost, unfortunately, for Terminal 1. They're redoing the San Diego Terminal 1. Hopefully we'll have an opportunity in Terminal 2 to put a Cali BBQ in there, which would be a huge deal for our brand.
I mean, that is a huge trend right now with airports, is that they used to have like the national brands that they would get in, but I think more and more people want a taste of that.
Well, they've seen what's happened in stadiums. Stadiums have become really successful using local vendors, local restaurants.
Got it. Okay, so as you're growing, focusing more on growing the brand, I mean, what was the biggest challenge, I guess, in terms of what you faced with pivoting to really grow your digital presence? Like, what were the things that if people want to follow in the footsteps that you went through to grow your digital presence? Like, what are the things that they can foresee happening that you had to experience personally?
Well, I mean, I think when it goes down to understanding, it goes down to our thesis, which is digital hospitality. Understanding that every single person that's a restaurant owner has hospitality in their blood. We wouldn't be in business if we weren't able to take care of someone in real life when they walk through the door. How do you make a stranger a friend? Well, you got to take care of them.
Right.
Growing your digital presence is understanding that omni-channel, no matter where your customer is coming, on whatever digital playground they're in, you have to be hospitable. So if you're not hospitable on Yelp because you have a subjective feeling towards, I don't like Yelp, well, there's humans on Yelp that are looking up your business. And if you don't care about the photos, and if you don't care about the hours of operation, if you don't care about the menu, if you don't care about what it says about your business, that's a problem. Now you're not being hospitable. So where do you start? You start at the beginning. The beginning is the website. You start at Yelp. You start at Google. You start at Facebook. You fix Instagram. Like, all of these are things that you can't be in business in 2024 and not understand that people are on the internet looking at your business.
Right. So what was the evolution of your digital hospitality? Like, how did you get better at that over time?
Getting better at it is getting dirty. Like, the only way to get better is understanding that, like, I had to go in to Yelp and claim my business page.
Okay. So you started with getting to the point where you could own the orders from your restaurant using Toast.
Yep.
Right. From there, you said, okay, we need to be more present on the ancillary platforms that are close to the next closest thing. Like, where are people discovering us?
Correct.
How do we own our brand there?
Yep.
What does owning your brand on Yelp look like?
Owning your brand on Yelp is the same way as owning your brand on Facebook, owning your brand on Instagram. It's understanding that everything that you can fill out, you need to fill out to the best of your abilities. It's like a business plan.
Yeah.
Like, every single digital playground is your chance to put your best foot forward, knowing that maybe 100 people will see it, maybe 1,000 people will see it, maybe 10,000 people will see it, but people are going to make a decision based off of what does that photo look like in the header? What does that text copy say about your restaurant? Is it welcoming? Is it family friendly? Do you have high chairs? Like, all of those things, they matter to someone. So if they don't matter to you, they're going to matter to someone else. Because the crazy part is we live in a time where you can't be in business unless you cared about these things in real life.
Yeah.
Just people don't understand that you have to also care about them online.
Yeah.
So caring about them online, like, there's so many great tools that allow us to not have to do what I used to have to do. Like, we use a company called Marquee, Marqii.
That was my next question, is how have you gotten better using these satellite
We have
platforms?
to, because I don't have the time. I don't have the bandwidth. And, you know, Steven Swiderski, who's my catering manager, Barbecue Scuba Steve, phenomenal. He does all of our media. He takes care of our online reviews. Our first I want to say first 1,600 Yelp reviews, I responded personally to every single one of them.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
1,600. And like now there's AI tools and
Yeah.
Marquee and Ovation. Those are two of our biggest, reputation management
Yeah.
tools that we use.
Get more into Marquee. You started explaining that.
Sure.
and
So
I got you.
Marquee understands menu management and knowing that there's 80 plus different websites where your restaurant can end up online. So whether it's Waze, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Google, whether it's Yelp, all of the biggest, Tesla Map, all of those places have information about your restaurant. What time are you open? Like we just had a manager meeting this weekend where we're changing our hours of operation on the weekend. So before we were open at 10 a.m. on Sunday, we're moving that to 11 a.m. We didn't have the sales to support opening up at 10 a.m. We thought because of NFL Sunday, but instead of going into each individual platform, Steven's going to go log into our Marquee dashboard. From Marquee, he's going to update every single platform that Marquee pushes out to. So it's just done in one place.
Yeah, it's a syndication.
Correct.
It syndicates.
It's the same way
information.
as a podcaster syndicates onto all the different podcast platforms.
Yeah. So what do you have to do within your business to be able to move to a Marquee? Do you have to like tear down before you
No.
rebuild, or how does that work?
No, it's very easy. I mean, the best tech companies understand that restaurant owners are busy.
Yeah.
We don't have time. Like if you're offering a tech solution, the tech solution should be easy enough for us to manage ourselves and also to onboard.
So I'm assuming that there's an integration between Toast and Marquee.
Yes.
So there's a back-end integration. What about your website? Who does your website?
Mithril Media.
Mithril
So
Media.
part of our Cali BBQ media team, Kyle Pfluger, he's the one that I went to back in I think before I met you.
Okay.
Before I met you, we had decided to go CaliBBQ.media. So we did a full rebrand. CaliBBQ.media was our domain, but I wanted a barbecue website that also hosted content for our podcast, for our blogs, for our videos.
Got it.
And he was like, no one's ever asked me that, but I can build it.
Yeah. So you don't have there's a lot of these out of the box options like Bento Box, Pop Menu,
Yep.
Spot Hopper. There's a whole bunch now. Dash Track is a new one that's on my
whole
radar.
lot, yep.
Owner.com. They didn't really fit your unique needs as a media company first.
Yeah, there was nobody like me that was demanding content and restaurant.
Got it.
But Kyle and Mithril Media, they decided that it was worth the squeeze. The juice was worth the squeeze to figure out and solve our problem. So if you go to CaliBBQ.media, you'll see we make it as easy as possible to buy barbecue.
So you don't
even though we have podcasts and we have content, that actually lives in a separate domain, content.calibarbq.media. And we did that very intentionally. I'm a huge fan of the book Donald Miller, Building a Story Brand. If you confuse, you lose. Donald Miller, if you care about websites, if you care about branding, get the book. It's one of the books that I recommend the most. Have you read it?
I haven't, but I'm familiar
How
with
have
his
you not read?
podcast.
You haven't read Donald Miller?
He has
Yeah,
his podcast,
of course he
right?
does.
So
Yeah.
I maybe Story Brand. I actually might
Building a
listen to
Story
that.
Brand.
I know of Donald Miller. I've listened to one of his books. How many does he have?
He has a lot. I think he has like 3.
I'm
at
not
least.
sure if it was that one that I listened to. This is going back like at least 9 or 8 years
This is his
ago.
best book for sure.
Was that around 9 or 8 years ago?
Maybe.
Then maybe I have listened to
Okay.
it. I know that spun off his podcast. Or what came first, the podcast or his book?
I think his book.
I know Story Brand
Yeah.
for sure. Donald Miller. He's based in Kansas or Kentucky, right? Or Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville,
That's
Tennessee,
what
I
it
think.
is.
Yeah.
So I know the idea of using story to develop your brand and how he really leaned into that.
Well,
one.
the basic premise, which I repeat all the time, is if you confuse, you lose.
Right.
And it's a problem that restaurant owners have, that tech companies have, that so many businesses have. It's a busy world.
So back to your website and how your approach isn't confusing.
Yeah.
So-
Buy barbecue.
Okay.
I want to make it as easy as possible. If you go on our website, you can buy barbecue, buy catering, order online, order for delivery.
And what you did is you had the Cali.barbq.media separate.
CaliBBQ.media is the main page.
Yeah.
You can still access the content, but it's not prevalent. Like if someone's coming to the CaliBBQ.media, they'll be able to find the content. Like you can pull it up right now.
Yeah, it's probably the easiest thing to do.
CaliBBQ.media.
CaliBBQ.media.
This is a live Restaurant Unstoppable website audit.
This
So
is
no
why I
pressure,
make
Kyle
sure.
Pfluger.
Well, it's easier just to see it sometimes.
It is easier to see.
So you go to CaliBBQ.media,
Yep.
and that brings up Cali Barbecue Front and Center. You see the food front and center. Your
Yep.
menu is the menu at the top is menu, order online, catering, gift cards, media.
Yep.
about contact. So, oh, there's media, watch. So drop down menu, watch, listen, read.
Yep.
So that's like your media hub right
Correct.
there on your top menu.
Yep.
And then on the left hand, in terms of buttons and menu, the left hand menu, order takeout, order delivery, order catering. So food is front and center.
Yes.
But like an ancillary part of the or like a little section of the website is watch, listen, read.
Yep.
So if I go to watch, it brings me to are these all the same, or what's the listen? Is that your
listens are for
podcasts?
all listens for all the podcasts, videos for all the video, and read is for all the blog content that includes podcast and video.
So this is your YouTube just embedded right
Yep.
into, and then at the top it brings you back listen, watch, read.
Yep.
Got it. Cool. Interesting. I love that. So back to
back to what you were saying. Bento Box, Pop Menu, Owner, all those. There's some incredible companies that do great websites, but for our needs, they're much beyond that because we truly believe in media. We believe that restaurants have the ability. I mean, it's tough as a single unit restaurant, but definitely restaurant groups should be producing their own media content, and they should be hosting that media content because they're already paying either a PR firm, a social media agency to do that kind of work.
when you say hosting, what do you mean?
Hosting, owning their own content.
Okay.
Instead of paying for someone else to do it, like paying for a PR firm to get you onto a magazine that nobody reads, much better to invest that money.
I don't know about you, man. Sorry, I cut
What's
you
that?
short. Finish your train
No,
of
go
thought.
ahead.
When I have media people reach out to me, like
Please
publicists,
tell me. Let's talk about it.
my initial is like, they're like, so and so loves your podcast and they would love to be a guest on your show, and they wanted to make sure that I would reach out to you. I'm like, if so and so really loved me so
Yeah.
much, they would make an effort to reach out to me.
Correct.
So I know you're full of shit right now.
It's a bad lead.
Yeah, it's just like, just don't lie. Like, you're
Don't
being
lie.
paid to
Yeah.
go out and to pretend these things, and just like, and I think, I don't know, like, I feel like I'm starting to get down the stuff I want to unpackage later, where it's just like we've gotten so like surface level sometimes, and it's just like, and I don't want to go down that road yet. But back to Marquee, a point I want to make, something I want to understand is that if you have a website that's not one of these major media or major website developers,
Yep.
right? The integrations on the back end, for
So
Marquee,
easy.
Like what? Yeah, get into that.
It's
That's what I was
like
interested in.
every company that we pick in our digital hospitality tech stack, it's literally like a toggle switch. Like they figure out the back end. Like for us, back to our tech stack. Number one, if it doesn't integrate with Toast, it's not going to be in our tech stack. Toast is our primary technology partner, and they have an incredible partner ecosystem, like over 100 different partners. And for us, we're not even going to look at the technology if it's not going to integrate with the thing that runs our business.
Got it. Okay, so you talked about Marquee. You also talked about Ovation. Let's
Yep.
give Ovation some love. So how do
Ovation's
they
amazing.
complement each other?
So Ovation is like, when I think of the thesis of digital hospitality, how do you treat someone online the same way we do in real life? It's how do you fix those problems before they become bigger problems? And one of the biggest challenges that we have in an online world is the communication piece. So if somebody orders our barbecue right now and comes and picks up DoorDash, and they go home and they have some brisket and they have some wedding beans and they have some peach cobbler, but we forgot the cornbread. Well, I don't want them to have to go to DoorDash and submit a dispute with DoorDash for a $2 cornbread order, jalapeno cheddar cornbread order. So instead, we have a QR code that says, any issues with your order, just text us. That QR code will go to an app that Ovation has built called, the Ovation Winback app, and that will text a manager on duty. So my manager on duty will open up a text communication with a guest. So whether they're happy, whether they're upset, it allows us to resolve a complaint with a person that might not be in the restaurant.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of a brand called Talk to the Manager that I think was kind of pioneering this almost like 10 years ago, but Ovation stepped it up.
Yep.
But, and so really what's going on, Ovation is meant to make sure the conversation never makes it online.
Correct.
They're there to
Well,
keep,
it's both. So it's there to find out, did you have a fantastic visit? Yes, 5 stars. So they ask you guest feedback. It was 5-star
four-wall
visit.
feedback.
Yeah, 4-wall feedback, 5 stars. Would you like to write a review? Yeah, I'd love to write a review. So the problem that most restaurants have is that
They don't have
no one
very-
ever asks them to write a review.
Right.
So many people love your brand, but no one's ever asked them,
they
or
even-
in a deep link, made it digitally easy for them to go to
Path
Yelp,
of least resistance.
go to Facebook, go to Google.
Right.
Like it gives them those 3 options.
So is it only if you get a 5-star review that you get queued
If it's
up?
anything less than a 5-star, then it asks, would you have any other feedback that you'd like to give?
Right.
And
also,
that allows the manager to resolve the complaint.
and the manager gets notified,
Correct.
push notification,
Yeah.
if it's anything less than 5 stars.
Correct.
Anything else we should know about Ovation? I'm going to try to get Zach on the show while I'm
Zach is phenomenal. I mean, if you're listening to this and if you go to any trade show throughout the country, Ovation does the best job, in my opinion, with small but mighty.
Yeah.
Like small but mighty. They care about every single restaurant owner that they come in contact with. They want to make an impact on this industry. And Zach and his team, they do phenomenal work.
Tons of energy.
Tons of energy. I talk about Ovation all the time. He has a phenomenal podcast himself. It's called the Ovation Podcast.
Ovation
Zach.
Up?
Ovation Up, yep.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, Zach, great guy. Sorry I cut you short.
No, it's all good.
So in terms of evolution, we started this by talking about how did you evolve your digital footprint.
Yep.
You started with your website. You got to own your website first. You have to have the keys to your website, which is important.
Yep.
Then from there, you're doing the satellite. You're owning the most close things to my website, i.e. Yelp and all the other Yelps of the world, but you're using Marquee to be able to manage all those different places from one point digitally. And then there's the gatekeeper, in a way, Ovation, of keeping things from getting bad online.
Yes.
And also getting people. Can you incentivize them to leave a review, or is it just
we give them an option to get entered into a $100 gift card contest?
Cool.
So every month we do a gift card contest for anybody that does write a review. So that's not incentivizing them. That's just putting them into a raffle.
Got it.
Otherwise we get penalized by Google and Yelp.
Right.
But the idea is just that we want feedback.
Okay.
We want feedback, and we want to give people a fun way to win barbecue.
Has there been any more evolution along this line of increasing your digital hospitality?
Sure. I mean, from switching from restaurant accounting services, Razzie, over to Restaurant 365, I mean, that's been a big shift for us. So
why did you switch from Razzie? I heard Razzie. I mean, Razzie was a big company. I mean, a lot of great things said. Less so now.
Yep.
Why are people shifting away from Razzie?
Razzie got bought out. I'm not sure who actually purchased them, but I met 3 years ago Tony Smith and the team at Restaurant 365, and kind of got an inside look into what they're building and how they're building it on the financial side for restaurants. And after coming back and talking to Eric, my business partner, and going through their tech and what can it do for us and what we're trying to build. They have a commissary model, so it helps us with the financial reporting. They have business intelligence. They do all the inventory. They do, like I said, payroll. They have such a robust platform that we thought it was only pertinent to partner with the best in the financial space
Go ahead.
for restaurants.
So in terms of the incentive for Restaurant 365, did it start with the commissary? Was that the thing that really appealed to you?
I think for me, when I look at technology, it doesn't matter if it's a publicly traded company like Toast or if it's a smaller tech company like Ovation. I care about the humans. I care about the founder. I care about the leaders that are in the tech company, knowing, do they really buy into this long term? Like, is this a transaction for them, or are they actually building something for forever?
Right.
And if they're building something forever, then I have deeper conversations. And I think that's part of the reason why we do all of the shows that we do. Like, I have to truly believe, to take Eric's time, to take Lisa's time, to take Steven's time, to take Gene's time, Howard's time, all these people on my team that are going to have to implement the tech and make it work with the other tech. Like, we have to believe in it, but we also have to be confident enough to know that somebody that listens to this show and they go, oh, well, Shawn talked about Marquee. I'm going to go contact Avi over at Marquee and go see, is this a good tool for us? And they're going to onboard it. Well, I don't want to look like an asshole 3 months from now going like, dude, Marquee didn't work for me. I know it will work. That's why I talk about it.
Right.
And that's why I use it. Like, if I use it and I talk about it, it's easy for me.
As a podcaster, that's my biggest fear.
Isn't it a huge fear?
Well, for me specifically, because I can't go and say this is what I use.
Yeah.
Because I don't own a restaurant.
Correct.
I have to.
You have to go off of the word of people like me and all the people that you interview.
Word of mouth is still king. In the world of all the different ways to market and promote yourself.
But isn't it a huge fear?
Oh, 100%.
Because a company could raise a bunch of money and then come, hey, Eric, I'm going to sponsor.
Now your name's on that.
Yeah, now all of a sudden it's like, well, Eric told me to switch my TVs over to Atmosphere, and, Atmosphere isn't doing, but Atmosphere's phenomenal. Like, they're a sponsor of us, but they run our TVs. But that is a huge fear for us, but that's why we do as much work as we do on the front end to make sure like we're just not going to onboard anything. And we have a pretty robust tech stack as it is. So
I mean,
there's a good waiting list right now.
And a big objective of mine with this podcast is to go get very diverse perspective from different people using different tools and say, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And the thing is, the people, like, you'll see patterns, you'll see trends, and I really that's why I live this lifestyle of like word of mouth, living on the road, going after these people, so I can get those testimonials. Because who am I to say this is like, I don't.
Well, you're an incredible gatherer of resources. Like you're getting
to do the work first.
Well, yeah, I know, but you're doing the work. That's the point. Like you're doing the work. That's why you've built a community that trusts you, loves your show, advocates for you, puts you on all the podcast lists. Like you've done the work to earn the respect because you put in the reps.
Yeah.
Like that takes time and effort. And once you do that time and effort, you notice patterns.
Right.
You know, A, B, C, D. Always be collecting the dots.
Right.
So you can always be connecting the dots.
Exactly, man. Okay, so in terms of I mean, anything else, we talked about a lot of your evolution since the pandemic, through the pandemic, away from ghost kitchens, back focusing to more in-person experiences in terms of the point of contact with the food, but still carrying the brand digitally and being present digitally is what I'm getting from you. Any other of these brands that you're leveraging that you just feel like you need to get out into the world?
Well, I mean, I think one of the biggest ones that isn't fun for people to listen to is sales tax. Like automating sales tax is something that is a terrifying thought that back in 2009, 2010, like financially, the restaurant was in a place where I didn't know if we were going to be able to make it because we had a sales tax bill that we weren't able to pay because we spent the money.
Right. I've been
like
there.
We've collected the money and we didn't put it somewhere. We thought it was part of our operating capital. And now Davo has created a tool that allows you to automate with any point of sale you're with. You know, we're with Toast. It automates with Toast. It's literally a flick of the button. And for $55 a month, you mean I can automate our sales tax? It goes into a separate account and it files it on our behalf.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at all of the tech that's out there,
that's
it's like a no-brainer. Like, like how do I sign up? How can I sign up faster to get this off my accountant's back, to get this off my bookkeeper's back, my wife, my whoever's running the books? Like, just look into Davo and see if it'll help you. See if it'll help you.
It's not your money.
It'll help your team.
Yeah. That's the best way to look at it too. Like, tax is not your money. Like,
yes.
That money belongs to the IRS. You cannot touch it. It is not yours.
Correct.
As soon as it hits your income account, it needs to go out of your income account.
Correct.
So you do not screw yourself over. I had like almost like at one point when I was just getting started with this podcast, like every penny I made, I needed to survive. And I got in trouble with the IRS where I was like 2 or 3 years back owed and I had to go on a payment plan. But I think when you're young and you're small and like you're doing all you can just to survive, you're working a part-time job and you're doing your side hustle, you're living off of like, you know, breadcrumbs. Like you're like, I need every penny that comes in just to pay my fucking school loan bills.
Correct.
You know? So anyway, you can get yourself in trouble. So you really have to take that money and get it off of your plate as fast as possible because it is not yours.
That's correct.
And if you have a way to automate that with Davo, like why not do that for $50 to $5 a month? If you don't use Avo, at least use Profit First. Are you familiar with Profit First?
No, what's Profit First?
Profit First is just a cash flow allocation process. So like it uses checking accounts, 5 checking accounts. You have your income account, you have your tax account. That money's not yours. You have your profit account, you have your owner's pay account, and you have your operational expense account. So this is literally just any bank that lets you have multiple checking accounts. You set up these 5 accounts. All the money you make goes into your income account. Twice a month, you allocate cash flow. You take whatever your taxes, right? Percentage. I do 15% for my business. I take 15% and I put it into of whatever my income is. All the money that's in my income account goes into 15% goes into my tax. 10% goes into profit. I think I use right now I'm using 40% in owner's pay. And then whatever's left over goes into operational expense.
Nice.
So basically,
I like it.
The way it works is like you got to make sure you're paying the IRS.
It integrates with your bank?
Yeah. So it's just opening a checking account. And then you just move money around. So you're allocating cash flow, basically.
Yep.
And if you can't afford, if you're still like pinching pennies trying to get started, it's just a way to protect yourself from yourself, more or less. Also, you're making sure that you're making a profit. You're allocating that cash. or a dime on every dollar goes to my savings,
Yep.
right? Investing in assets, paying off debt. Then you're making sure you're paying yourself,
Yep.
right? So the owners pay, like I'm getting paid. This is covering my life needs.
Yep.
And then whatever's left over is your operational expense, and that determines your growth. But what people do usually is they spend all the money,
Yep.
and then whatever's left over is owners pay in profit.
Correct.
And that's backwards because we have to make sure we're taking care of ourselves.
Yep.
Because if we're not, then we're going to fail.
And then it's broken.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it makes sure that you're using cash flow, what's left over, to prevent you from overspending.
Correct.
Basically. So that's profit first.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
But Davo is just implementing that idea of just taking the money right off the top.
Mm-hmm.
Anything we haven't discussed that you want to make sure comes out in terms of the evolution of your digital hospitality?
I mean, I think, when we look at our tech stack in particular, it's just understanding like where were we in the beginning and where are we now? And so much of the evolution is like, we've always believed in the internet. We always knew that the internet going digital can make our lives easier. So whether that was with Toast, switching our entire primary technology partner and all of the cool things that they're doing now, one of the coolest things that they're doing from the Chicago show, which they announced, is benchmarking. So they have 106,000 restaurants on Toast. Benchmarking is a way for us as a restaurant to understand data, localized data. So like we can go in right now under our sales report and take a look at what's happening today on a Saturday. What are local restaurants that are on Toast, the top 20 restaurants on Toast, what are their sales doing year over year?
Does it tell you who those brands are?
It won't tell. It's anonymized data, but it'll tell you like category specific. So if I wanted to stay in the barbecue category, there's not a lot of barbecue restaurants. We're not around a lot of Toast restaurants, so we have a much bigger data set. But from a localized standpoint, one of the biggest challenges we always have is like, why is it slow?
Right.
Like, is it slow because it's
me,
the day after Memorial Day? Like, is it slow because the county fair just opened up? Like, are we just slow? It allows us as operators and managers to take a look and go, well, every restaurant's down 20% today.
Not just us.
Not just us.
That's huge. That's just good for your peace of mind.
Great for your peace of mind. And it's also allows you to take a look at menu items.
Yeah.
So like menu item specific, like how much is a Jack and Coke around San Diego? Jack and Coke is, I don't know, $9. You're charging $7.50. Well, everyone else is getting $9. Like maybe we need to menu adjust.
Right.
Yeah.
I can see that this is part of what I'm trying to do just with getting more people to open up. And
Yep.
I think we've been our own biggest challenge in the industry for the longest time.
For sure.
By not sharing information. And
But we share information all the time.
Yeah, I know. And I think
But we, for us, storytellers, podcasters, people that, want to move this industry forward, for us to grow, we have to share knowledge.
Right. It was the podcasting industry that inspired me to get started with my own podcast for the restaurant industry.
Yep.
Because I was listening to these entrepreneurs sharing their entrepreneurial journeys and marketing advice and just personal growth advice, and I was like, why doesn't the restaurant industry talk?
Yep.
Why don't we share this information? We're too busy trying to compete against the person down the street
Yep.
instead of lift the other person up, and vice versa. And when you do that, I feel like everybody that's willing to put the work in survives. And then there's those people who just shouldn't be in the industry that don't want to do the work.
Yep.
Right. But if you're willing to do the work and you're willing to share information, all boats rise.
Correct.
So I know you believe that.
We do.
Okay. So in terms of where we are today, or where you are today, with trying to teach other people to do what you're doing, focusing just on the media side of things, let's just pick up there. So we're moving away from restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
We're moving toward now. There's other ways to make money in the restaurant industry. B2B marketing is that safe to say? Is that where
Yep.
we're going?
Yep.
What up, unstoppable restaurant owners and operators? We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that Restaurant Unstoppable and Restaurant Systems Pro, we're taking our relationship to the next level. Beginning in July of 2024, Fred Langley, CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, is making himself available once a week in Restaurant Unstoppable Network to answer all of your restaurant systems questions, whether it's the profit margins. He will look at your P&L. Bring your P&L. He will take a look at that. He will dissect it. He will help you find your profit, whether that be through budgeting, inventory management, costing and recipe cards, labor, checklist, you name it. He is a master on restaurant systems, and he's making himself available to you. Fred Langley and Restaurant Systems Pro started as a consulting firm, and for over 16 years, they've been helping their clients increase their profit by 10% or more. What are you waiting for? Click the link below to join our Facebook group, Restaurant Unstoppable Network.
Pick up that train of thought.
So we're going to go to the toast unboxing. So at that point, which was July of 2020, I've shared this story before, but I was in negotiations. Howard Solomon, who was our restaurant consultant, who was helping us with the ghost kitchens and the expanding out our restaurant, phenomenal, incredible leader. He's still part of the team. He's helping us with the Navy base.
Past guest in the show, I believe you helped me.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. Yeah. He's actually doing pastrami pop-ups now. Cool. He's building this pastrami empire.
Nice.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. He's
pastrami grilled or boiled?
That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe you're gonna have to go and try it and find out.
I'm down.
Yeah, you're here, so you got to go see him
for sure.
But at that point, switching from a legacy point of sale system, Eric and I both knew that our current capabilities, especially during the pandemic, in order to meet the needs of online orders, like Aloha wasn't cutting it, but still switching to Toast was a big deal. Like, are we going to switch to Toast? Are they going to give us a good deal? Is it going to make sense for us financially? Are we going to be able to implement the technology? Are there going to be hiccups? Are there going to be things that we don't know are going to work or not going to work? Through the negotiation, Ali Molengoski, she was our sales rep. Will Eppard was the district rep. I was very clear with both of them that for me, more important than switching for a restaurant, for our restaurant, for Cali BBQ, was me documenting the story for other restaurateurs. Like, we are a media company. We're not just a restaurant, we're a media company. And, I always say that Will laughed because he laughed. He's like, a lot of people tell us that they're going to, do a podcast or make a video. Like, I don't believe you're going to do it, but if you do, that's great.
So Will is
my guy.
Okay.
I am a huge Will fan because he was the one at Toast initially that gave me pushback that said, Shawn, I don't believe that you're going to do it. But then he also believed in me.
So from what I understand, and just having mutual friends, when you first started promoting Toast, you were just started promoting Toast.
They were not paying us.
Yeah, you were just like,
I
I'm
told
doing this
Toast,
anyway.
I'm doing it anyways.
Yeah.
Because I believed what Ali told me. I believed what Will told me. I believed what other restaurant owners that were on the platform had told me. And I believed that it was good for our business. And I also believed that whatever was going to happen was going to happen. So once the cameras roll, like, we're going live on camera. We unboxed the Toast unboxing video. So there's a, Toast unboxing Cali BBQ video that got us in front of Chris Comparato, the CEO of Toast, all of the executives of Toast. They all shared the video. They all talked about the video. But because we made that video, so many people said, why are you doing that? Like, why, as a restaurant owner?
Who was saying this? Other restaurants?
Other restaurant owners, other business owners, friends of mine, kind of in my circle.
Why not? This is the day-to-day behind the scenes of a restaurant. This is the stuff you don't see.
These are the things that I struggle with. I struggle with because I know inherently why not. Like, I know why. Like, this is the ROI. When someone asks, what's the ROI of storytelling? This is the Toast unboxing story. Why Toast now sponsors restaurant influencers, why I'm on the customer advisory board, why we do a show called Family Style for Toast, why I was at the IPO, why I fly out, every quarter to Boston headquarters. I do interviews with Amon Narang, and
you still should probably let me know the next time you're coming to Boston, man.
I will get you to. We will figure that out. Right. I made a promise on camera, but that is the ROI, and the ROI is never going to be immediate. Like, when you started this podcast, what's the ROI of starting this podcast?
For me, I just wanted to learn. When I first started this podcast, I mean, it was a long game for me. I don't even know if I knew what the ROI was going to be. I just had to start. Yeah. But the ROI is. But
your belief was way beyond whatever ROI or objective formula there was.
Right. I mean, it was hard for me when I first started the podcast because I had no clue what the ROI would be.
Correct.
Because there was nobody doing it.
Correct.
There were a couple other restaurant podcasts out there, but they weren't it wasn't what I was looking for, where it was just real people sharing how they did it.
Correct.
And it was a real uphill battle, honestly, for the longest time, because I had to go to companies.
You started in what, 2014?
2015?
15?
13 is when I started
2013.
learning how to do it. My first episode was January 2014.
2014.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's come a long way.
It's a long. It's a decade.
Yeah, a decade this year.
This year.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
A decade.
But it's been an uphill battle because
10,000 hours.
I know.
More
it
than
wasn't-
that.
It really wasn't
It's more
until
than
you
that.
came around where like I could have somebody else to talk to.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, like, what are
Hey,
you
what else is
doing?
going on?
What's that?
No, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
Like having you around and me and you having conversations about what are we doing to talk to brands, to work with brands, to do sponsorship deals, to get better guests, to get better equipment,
Right.
to distribute the podcast, to do video, social media, all of those things. Like you feel like you're alone until you find somebody else that's actually doing it.
Right. And
Right?
like you don't know, there's no bench. Speaking of benchmarks,
That's
there's
benchmarking.
No, yeah, there's
Exactly.
no
That's like
benchmarks.
benchmarking. That's
so
the tool.
I'd have to go to like,
You're like, I don't know.
companies
I don't know how
and be
much.
like, hey, will you sponsor my podcast? They're like, what the fuck is a podcast?
Yeah, what's a podcast? How much? $50 an episode? No. How about like 5,000?
Right. And like I literally just had no clue. Like, and plus the world of restaurants, it's such a niche market.
Yep.
So like you're looking at like you're comparing yourself to like a Joe Rogan
Yep.
who gets millions and millions and millions of downloads.
Tim Ferriss,
right?
Yep.
Massive market that they're speaking to. You know, like basically all people they're
Yeah.
speaking to.
B2C,
Right.
not B2B.
Exactly. So
This is B2B podcasting.
then you have a B2B podcast
Yep.
that's super focused
Yep.
on a very notoriously difficult audience of people to get in front of because they're so busy
Correct.
and they already don't trust anybody. You know, there's trust issues in
Correct.
this industry. I, for one, have trust issues. I'll be the first person to admit
Yep.
it. But it's just like, how do you put a value to that? So how did you go through that process of knowing your value? How did you know what your value was? Because you started doing it for free.
We did it for 5 years. For 5 years, I invested in this media company.
Yeah.
There, we didn't make one single dollar, one deal until 2022. It was the
So-
first time that we'd got any brand deals.
Who helped you know your worth?
It's a great question. I mean, I think the team around me helped me know. Like, in the beginning, I started the show with Derek Marceau, who owns Valley Farm Market, and he believed in the podcast, and we got to 100 episodes of Behind the Smoke before we turned it into digital hospitality, where it was just me. Stover Harger, who's the executive producer, the man behind the scenes at Cali BBQ Media, he believed in this idea. Eric, who's been my number one right here since literally I hired him in the parking lot in 2008. Like, as much as he's been my antithesis and the yin to my yang, like, he's also given me the freedom to do the events, to do the media, to do the podcast, to do the video, to understand, like, I know Shawn's crazy, but like, he's usually only crazy for things that he believes in, and he won't give up. Like, I just won't stop. And that goes back to my grandfather. My grandfather would never give up. Unstoppable.
Yeah, man.
Unstoppable Mamba mentality. It's, how do you get better every single day? And if you keep doing it, and if you figure out how to do it, it's a game that never ends. Like, the whole goal is to stay in business. If we can stay in business and if we can wake up and fight again tomorrow, like, all of a sudden, all of those things that we've been doing start to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like, going to Chicago and bringing my team and executing the way that we did for those 5 days, like, so much of the work that we've done over 16 years, it all started to make sense.
Yeah.
It's like almost where you're at the Matt Damon board, like, you're sitting there and you're seeing, like, I see all the numbers and all of this crazy stuff that we believed in, we thought about. This is why we do it.
Right. So if we're listening to this and we're getting inspired to do our own B2B type of marketing, right, where we start sharing and promoting what we're doing, what are the benchmarks we should be looking for to know that we can start making money doing this?
The number one thing that any restaurant owner that's listening to this needs to understand is, like, you're already doing B2C content. You're already a storyteller. There is no risk to you talking about the things that you love and the things that are on your P&L. Literally, these are expenses on your P&L. Things that you believe in. You've chose this vendor over a different vendor. Why? Make a video about the bread that you bring into your restaurant.
And along that vein of what we shared earlier is, like, help your community. It's this idea of it ripples out, right?
Yes.
Like, so you take what you're doing, you're constantly improving, the mama mentality, right?
Yep.
When I work on myself, I get better. Guess what? It's easier to lift people up than it is to push them up,
Correct.
be higher than you are. But if you lift yourself up, you pull those closest to you, to your level, right? That ripples out to your community, and that community includes the other restaurants in your market. It's not just your guests, it's everybody. And if you can lift up the other people in your community, you're making your community a better place.
That's correct.
That whole community is going to lift up. And if we can lift up communities, this is why I think the restaurant industry has transformative power. This is why I believe the restaurant industry is going to change the world, because it has to come from the inside out. It has to come from you, it has to come from me, and then we have to ripple out. And there's an opportunity, to your point, to speak to other restaurant owners. And anytime you lift anybody up, there's a benefit to that.
Yep. What people need to understand that are listening or that are watching this is that you're not alone. Mm-hmm. And we feel like we're alone.
Yeah.
Like, I know, because I've been there, and there's times where I feel like I'm alone until I remember, oh, wait, I can call Eric. I can call Kyle and Sarah. I can call other people that are in the podcast space, media space, and I can ask difficult questions that I'm having, with Cali BBQ Media. But the restaurant owners out there, you're not alone, and your voice matters. Like, literally, you cannot open up a restaurant unless you have a powerful voice.
Right.
You just can't do it.
For sure. So
you have to be able to convince another human being, a landlord, a partner, a cook, a dishwasher, a host, so many different people you have to convince in real life in order to open up one of the most difficult businesses in the world.
So back to this idea of B2B marketing, right? So you develop a brand, not you, but a general you out there listening to this. So you've developed a brand. You have, say, 20,000 followers on your business account.
Yep.
Right? And you decide, I want to start making B2B content.
Yep.
How do we know that our audience of 20,000 people, Instagram followers, random, it could be LinkedIn, it could be Facebook, it could be Instagram, it could be TikTok, but I'm talking about Instagram. We have 20,000 people following us. How do we know the value of that audience? Is it mostly consumers following us? Is it other business owners? Like, how do we put a value to that?
So the only way you can put a value to social media. So it's a good conversation, because I was talking about this when I was in Chicago, when people were asking me about analytics and podcast numbers and video views on YouTube and Instagram followers. For me, what I know without a shadow of a doubt, why we do the work that we do, why we produce digital hospitality, why we produce restaurant influencers, why I love coming on this show, is because when I go to Chicago, when I go to the California restaurant show coming up here, that's going to be happening in the fall in Orange County, when I go to the shows, when I come here, humans in real life will stop me and say, Shawn, thank you for making that video. I'm like, which video?
Yeah,
I make a couple videos. Like, thank you for doing that podcast. Yeah. Thank you for making that post. Thank you for doing those things. Like, the humans are the numbers that matter for me. And back to your question about having 20,000 followers, those 20,000 followers, like, we can't change the algorithms of Meta, of Instagram, of TikTok, but what we can speak is our truth. And like, all you need is one person, another restaurant owner. And any restaurant owner, I guarantee you, without a doubt, other restaurant owners are following you. Whether you know it or not, they are following you. And you should be following them.
Yeah.
Because that is a rising tide. A rising tide is we go out and we support each other. We want other restaurant owners in San Diego. We want other restaurant owners in Spring Valley. We want other barbecue restaurants to succeed. Because the better they are, the better we are.
Right.
And for me, back to the Toast situation, I knew that we weren't the only people that were on a legacy point of sale system that were making a decision during the pandemic to switch to a cloud-based system like Toast. So if I made a video about us unboxing and talking about the why behind us switching over, it wasn't going to be valuable to the person that's coming in to buy a rack of ribs. But somewhere on YouTube, somewhere on Spotify, somewhere on TikTok, the right person at the right time would find that piece of content and would go, thank you, Shawn, for making that video.
Right. So I'm gonna go, big picture a little bit right now. So we kind of got into the weeds, talking about this, but big picture. So you have two audiences you're speaking to. So to say you have your consumers, the people that are in the market of your restaurants who are purchasing your food, and then you have the global market of restaurateurs across the world who you're lifting up. How do you shift tone and go from one audience to the next audience?
Very difficult, to be honest with you. I mean, if you just break it down from the 4 Instagram accounts that I personally run, from Cali BBQ Media, which actually Toby helps me run on my team, Shawn Walchef, Cali BBQ, and Walchef Wolfpack. Those are just 4 Instagram accounts.
Yeah.
That's not including TikTok accounts, Facebook accounts, Twitter accounts, Thread accounts, YouTube accounts. Where else? We don't post on Snap.
What about
LinkedIn?
TikTok, right?
LinkedIn. I post every single day on LinkedIn, multiple times a day on LinkedIn. It's hard to do, but it's also the most important work that I do. Like, I check email every day. Is that hard to do? Yeah, it's hard to do. Is it fun to do? If the right email comes through, yeah, it's fun to do, but most of the time it's not fun to do. We prioritize the thing that matter. And for me, the biggest part about social media is to remove the logos. Like, logos come with feelings that are subjective.
You mean literally remove the logo?
Like, literally remove the logo. Like, when I say TikTok, you can't help but think something. Whoever's listening to this, they have a certain feeling towards TikTok.
Right.
Either I like it, I love it, I hate it, I'm not going to do it, someone's stealing my data. Like, there's all of these subjective feelings that come when I say TikTok.
Right.
When I say YouTube, people think a certain thing. When I say Instagram, people think a certain. When I say Facebook, some people love it, some people hate it. When I say Yelp, when I say Google, like, we have to remove our subjective feeling and realize that there's just humans on the other end. This is just the internet.
Right.
And all we're talking about mostly with social media is video. Like, mostly it's video. All of these platforms, most of it is video. It's audio, video, words, and images. Mm-hmm. We don't discriminate how people are going to find our content. We want to be in as many places as possible.
So when you're back to the question of pivoting from, B2B to B2C content, I guess, one thing that we're talking about, like, where I push back on social media sometimes, in terms of, like, I'll talk about the conversation I had with Adam Guild from owner.com, where he was saying that, social media isn't necessarily the best, in terms of prioritization of where you put your energy and focus. His argument is that you should start with, SEO on your website and direct mail marketing, and then social media falls somewhere lower on the hierarchy, which I think you've probably gotten behind today in terms of, like, you talking through your evolution, your website.
You have to own your audience. If you don't own your audience, like, if you don't know who your community is, like your own CRM as a restaurant, like, that's a problem.
Right.
Like, if you don't have an email list, like, that's something that you own.
Right. Well, the point that he was making is the reason why social media was lower on the hierarchy is because that social media is geared towards a global market.
Sure.
Right. It's not meant to be
changed,
a local market.
For sure. It's definitely changed.
So if you're putting your energy into promoting yourself on a global market and you have 2 locations in a small market, like within 50 miles from each other, like, is that the right platform to be putting your energy on? And that was his argument.
Yep.
We talked a little bit off camera and off microphone. You said that you have a different approach.
Yeah, I have a different approach because I view social media statistics completely differently. Like, I don't care if a restaurant has 20,000 followers on Instagram, if they have 50,000, if they have 200,000. Like, what I do care about is, like, are they present? Are you present? Are you active? Because no matter what anyone says, people are on Instagram.
Yeah. What do you mean by present?
Like, have you posted?
Got it.
Are you posting stories? Are you engaging with the community? When somebody responds to your post, are you actually engaging, having a conversation with them? Like, having a conversation with your community, like, not posting and ghosting.
Right.
Like, where somebody's just posting just to post or just to get big views. Who cares if you get big views? Like, it's funny. We recently got featured in a Wall Street Journal article because of dynamic pricing. So everyone that's listening has probably heard about Wendy's and surge pricing. They were on an earnings call and they were on all these late night talk show hosts, good morning shows. How could Wendy's be charging so much for surge pricing.
How
for the
could we
hamburgers.
not all be doing that? Is the better
Correct.
question.
It's a better question.
Yeah.
So we do dynamic pricing. We use Juicer.
As everybody should.
We use Juicer.
What is Juicer?
Juicer is technology that integrates with our third-party delivery. So with Uber and with DoorDash.
Does it integrate with Marquee?
It does not integrate with Marquee, but it integrates with DoorDash as well as Uber Eats and dynamic pricing. We incrementally change pricing. So for us, we were on the Wall Street Journal. I was featured in an article. And from that article, we got into a bunch of national media and international media. From that, we got a lot of people on the internet saying, how could you do that?
What kind of what
Hate.
people? Restaurants?
A lot of hate people.
Or like
No, these were people
consumers.
that will never come to our restaurant.
These
is
are
my
consumers.
point. Consumers
Yeah,
that
consumers
will never
are fucking idiots.
but that will
I'm
never
sorry.
come to our restaurant. So like we're in a News Nation, like I'm on a News Nation article, not an article, a video interview.
Yeah.
It gets repurposed on YouTube. It has hundreds of thousands of views. In the comments, there's tens of thousands of comments. In the comments, probably 80% of them are like, we'll never, like, that person's barbecue is terrible. We'll never go to that. None of those people live in Spring Valley.
Right. How do you
like
know?
none of them live in Spring Valley.
But I think finish your train of thought because I don't want
But that's from a global perspective. That's
Right.
the fear.
Right.
That's the fear of social media. That's the fear of like, well, that's when things go wrong. Is it going to be detrimental to our business? And to, Adam's point of owner.com, I also agree that it is more important to focus on the things locally, but I also disagree that social media is beyond important because people are on Facebook.
Right.
Matt Plapp, who America's Best Restaurant, they help us with our marketing, which is crazy because we're a media company, but
Yeah.
like I need help. So America's Best Restaurant helps run our Facebook ads. But like it took Matt Plapp of saying like, Shawn, you can't ignore Facebook. I'm like, well, but he's right. We have 30,000 followers on our Facebook on Cali BBQ's Facebook page.
Yeah.
Like there are people that are constantly every single day engaged in the videos that we put out, engaged in the comments, engaged in the things that we're posting about. And it's like, we cannot ignore those people because they're there. If not, someone else is going to post and they're going to think about that. And what you and I talked about is I look at social media as a love letter. Like, how can I make a video for the one person that's going to see it that needs to see it?
Right. Which the point you made is you look at it as more one-to-one marketing.
As one-to-one marketing, because you can tag somebody in your video and the chances that they see it are very high. I mean, obviously, if you're tagging someone like Gary Vee, he's probably not going to see it because
Right.
probably hundreds of thousands of people are tagging him.
Yeah.
If you're tagging, Kylie Jenner or anybody like that, but if you're tagging a local brand, a local influencer, the chances are they're going to see it.
Yeah.
And back to the B2B content, I guarantee you that any person that's listening to this show, if they go through their expense sheet and they figure out who are the vendors that we're partnered with, who do we believe in, and they go and they follow the Instagram accounts of those vendors, I guarantee you they probably have 100 followers, maybe 1,000 followers.
Right.
They have no content. They have no testimonial content. And guess what? Those companies, like that bread company, that chemical company, that furniture company, they probably do tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in sales.
Right.
And they need marketing too.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, these are all the secrets.
Yeah, there's
like
opportunities.
these are all
there,
the secrets.
for sure. So where do you think the world of marketing is going? If we talked about where you are today, presently, how you're trying to create awareness about these opportunities, that these brands that we do business with need our support promoting them, and that there's a win-win scenario there, i.e., they could and probably will pay you to promote them, right? Where are we going? What's the future look like?
The future looks like our tagline, which is be the show, not the commercial. Mm-hmm. The problem with marketing is that people think about advertising when they think about marketing.
The problem with marketing is that people think about advertising when they think about marketing. What do you mean by that?
Do you like getting advertised to?
Hell no.
Do you know anybody in your circle or anyone that you ever talk to that enjoys being advertised to?
No one does.
Why are so many people advertising?
Because it gets results.
Does it?
Well, that's what the argument is.
Does it get results?
I've heard it does.
Have you bought something because of advertising?
I'm sure I have.
I'm sure you have too. And
whether
I'm sure I
conscious
have
of it or
too.
not.
Whether I'm conscious of,
Yeah.
of it or not. But my point is, where are we going? We're going to storytelling.
Okay.
We're going to being the show, not the commercial. Like, we're going to a point where my son is going to be 7, my daughter is going to be 5. I share the story all the time. But the first digital button that they learned how to hit was skip.
Yeah.
on YouTube, and they're watching cartoons. And what kind of advertisement are coming on their cartoons on YouTube? Other cartoons.
Okay.
Like companies are paying for other cartoons to interrupt the content that's happening to hopefully get my kids to tell mom and dad, hey, go buy this dinosaur. But they hit skip because they don't want their content interrupted. I'm a 42-year-old man. I don't want my content interrupted either.
So if the message,
I don't want to watch a commercial either.
So if I'm picking up what you're putting down, the messaging can't be or shouldn't be in the ad. It should be the content.
It needs to be the content. It has to be integrated content. So it can't be skipped. And the only way to have integrated content is to either be educational or entertaining. And if you're educational or entertaining and you're just telling stories, it might be to a much smaller audience, which is the risk. People want to go to the biggest audience. But a lot of those numbers are fake. Mm-hmm. They're all fake numbers. I mean, if you look at legacy media and you see what your local newspaper, what they tell you their distribution is, the local radio tells you their distribution is, what the local TV says that their distribution is, it's all bullshit.
Right.
Like, how can you tell me that 100,000s of people are watching the local news?
Right.
Like, I don't know anybody that watches the local news. Like, we go on the local news. We have news partners, and we love our news partners. And we know that there are news stations that are very powerful here in San Diego that drive business. But, like, if we're all being honest, like, would I think it's a financially good decision to purchase a commercial?
Yeah. What's different about social media versus, say, mainstream media like broadcasts, like your cable network or radio?
Democratization. You have the keys to the kingdom in your fingertips.
Meaning
you don't need to pay.
The content creator has the keys.
Yeah, you don't need to pay for anybody. You don't need there's no producer. There's nobody that needs to make the decision of what goes on air.
The operational costs associated is lower. Here's one of my concerns with the future as we talk about what's happening here. I think if you look at the history of media over time, money has always bought up media.
Yep.
Right? That's just what happened with radio. It's what happened with the newspapers. It's what happened with radio. It's what happened with cable. And I think it's what's happening with the internet, and it's what's happening with social media, to the point where so if our end user, right, the content that we're creating right now is the restaurant owner in this specific scenario, and the restaurant owner is getting more and more content created geared towards them. Yep. Right? How is the restaurant owner going to know that the person behind that content that's being created for them is geared towards the the money that person's making to promote a product or service, or based off of reality of like you work with all these brands that you're promoting. You're using them in your restaurant.
Correct.
You're getting testimonials. There's integrity there.
Yep.
But as soon as other people with big followings start to realize, holy shit, I can make money promoting these brands, like I'm just going to start investing in the brands that are willing to pay me the most money so I can say I use these, right? Correct. That's my fear, is like, how are we going to know who to trust?
It's no matter how the media changes, no matter how the distribution changes, it's always going to be the truth. Like, the truth vibrates the fastest. Like,
I will say truth is relative.
Truth is relative, but it also vibrates the fastest. So it's like, it's up to each individual human to know who's getting bullshitted.
Right.
Like, there really is no way to know. From my standpoint, like, does Ryan Reynolds really believe in his aviation gin? I believe it. I respect the hell out of what Ryan Reynolds has built. He's a phenomenal salesman. Yeah. He's a phenomenal marketer. He might be the best on earth. Like, do I believe that he thinks that Wrexham is a great town? Yeah, because that's the truth. But have I sat down with Ryan Reynolds? No.
Right.
And even if I sit down with Ryan Reynolds, do I still know?
You know, I mean, it's just I wonder if it's going to get harder and harder to know who the messages, or what messages we can believe, and what messages, like, once money gets involved, like, and this is something I've experienced personally as a podcaster. It's just like, you know, you want to be honest to the story, right?
Yep.
You want to tell the story, but you also want the story to be real. You don't want to start having.
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to transactional versus lifetime value.
Right.
There will be people that will make money on a transaction, but they will not sustain.
Yeah.
Like, I care about who's doing it for decades. If you're doing it and you make a flash, like you made a bunch of money in 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, like, great, good for you. But are you there in a decade? Like, when I'm 52, will I still be telling stories? I certainly think so. I'm almost positive I can make a commitment that by the time I will be shocked that for the rest of my life I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
In some form or another.
Yeah. I mean, I think I agree with pretty much everything you shared today. And I think the only thing I don't agree with, which hasn't even come up with in today's conversation, is well, actually it has. I think when you said like all these things, all these platforms, that, like you just have to forget the logo. Is I think what you said.
Forget the logo. Remove the logo.
Remove the logo.
Yep.
My biggest pushback on social media, if I have any pushback, is that I don't know if I agree with the rules of the game.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
You know what I'm
but I don't
saying?
agree with the rules of the game for the restaurant business either.
Well, there's fairness to that, but my whole mission statement is to change the world.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that the restaurant industry, instead of playing to the rules of the game, if the restaurant industry collectively just goes, wait a second, these rules don't serve us. You need us.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you not only that, but for us, like we're bringing in media revenue to a restaurant P&L. Like we're changing the game.
Yeah, in
because
that sense,
of social.
within the construct.
Because of social.
But within this, the marketing's not going anywhere.
No.
What scares me is that the world is being controlled by such a small amount of companies.
Sure.
Google, Facebook,
Yep.
TikTok. I think Google just bought HubSpot recently.
Yep.
You know, like we're like it's to the point where like, are we creating content for each other or are we creating content for these companies?
Sure.
That's where my thing is. So like, it's like kind of like it's like we're being forced into these systems where we have no choice to be a part of these systems.
Sure.
So
but I mean, how much are you paying Google?
How much am I paying Google?
Yeah.
For me, it's not necessarily the monetization side of it.
I know, but like, how much are you paying them?
How much am I paying Google?
Yeah.
I'm paying them with my data.
Yeah.
I'm paying them with
But
them
how
having
much?
manipulative power over me.
Yeah, but they're also connecting you to me.
Did they connect us? Or did you reach out to me?
But like I said, we wouldn't be here together if it wasn't for the internet. And then I agree.
I see there's some benefits to it, right? I'm not trying to be completely ignorant to all the benefits, but I think that there's more disadvantages that we aren't even aware of because they're meant to be undetectable. It's you know what I'm saying? That's the stuff I don't necessarily agree with. And I feel like, you know, it's a balance, right? Like I think we should be better about sharing the negative side of things too. Like, listen, like if you choose this path,
sure,
there's the downside of it. I just think collectively, like I won't go too far. I'm really here to learn from you today. That's my objective. So I don't want to go too far.
It's okay. I told you last time we did the podcast. Yeah. Your antithesis makes my thesis deeper.
Right. And like
I truly believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that like if it wasn't for the internet, we wouldn't be in business. Like right. I know that, but you wouldn't be sitting here in front of me.
There's truth.
If it wasn't for the social media,
and I don't think it's all about it. Like
podcast.
I've said it once and I'll say it again. I do believe marketing is the bane of human existence, but I don't think it's all bad, right? Like there's parts of marketing that I just don't agree with. That I think. So one thing, have you ever heard anybody say like when it comes to like personal life, friends, family, be the nicest person possible.
Sure.
Right. Take care of your loved ones.
Love thy neighbor.
Love thy neighbor. But when it comes to business, fuck them.
Yeah.
You know, like there seems to be this clear like divide between anything goes in the world of business. As long as it's to make a profit, it's about being number one. It's about being the best.
I mean, I've met people like that. I don't live my life like that.
I don't say you do.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, but I'm saying that there are people that agree, and I
sure.
think in it that manifests most in marketing, because you see people
marketing and sales,
persuasion,
marketing and sales. Sure.
Yeah, sales, marketing. I think
storytelling, all of it.
Right. So my only pushback is when when there's this clear like. So when does content become playing the algorithm? Does it become
no?
Doing
I don't play
this
the
thing?
algorithm.
I'm not saying you do. I'm saying like, is that a direction where we're going where people are more people are trying to just create content and exist for the sole purpose of getting vanity metrics and all these things? Like, are we prioritizing vanity metrics over human relationships at times? I'm not saying you're doing that. I'm saying,
back to what I told you before, like we have vanity metrics.
Right.
We have plenty of metrics for the shows that we do, reaching millions of people. Those are numbers that we're getting from entrepreneurs.
I think those vanity metrics can be bought, and that's my concern.
Sure.
And that's what steers the ship of social media.
Sure.
Is that you don't see that being a problem?
I think it is a problem. But back to what do I truly believe in?
Right.
What do I truly believe in is that when I go to Chicago, when I go to Boston, when I go anywhere, when people fly into San Diego that literally have no business coming to Spring Valley, the CEOs that have come and sit in this seat that I've interviewed in this exact room that would have no business flying from Norway all the way to San Diego, it only happens because of the internet.
Right. But what's to say that there can't be different platforms? Democratization of the channels through which we can get our information out there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what do you mean?
Meaning the channels, yes, there's more individual messages out there.
Sure.
But they still need these mediums to get the message out.
They've always needed mediums to get the
what's
message
to
out.
say we can't fragment the mediums?
They already are fragmented.
I think we could be better about fragmenting them.
They're pretty fragmented as is. Like, there's never been more fragmented. Like, before there was before there was,
but I think
there was radio. There was like 3
Mamba
radio
mentality,
channels.
Sean. We can always do better.
Sure. Well,
we can always collectively do better.
I'm not saying that we can't do better. What I'm saying is, like, for me, I don't worry about things outside of my control.
Right. I mean,
and like,
I think that's my problem,
you and I differ in that. We had the same conversation 5 years ago. Like, all I know is, like, I have restaurant owners that I love and respect that want me to get involved locally, statewide, nationally in politics.
Right.
For me, I'm not going to do something like, unless I truly believe that I can do something and make a difference, then I'm not going to do it.
Let's make sure it's clear that I am here to echo your positive sentiments.
We'll let the viewers decide.
There are positive
the viewers that are on the internet. We'll let them decide what they think.
We're at the 30,000 foot portion of the conversation.
We will let Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google Play and all of the places and YouTube. And we will let them decide.
I feel like I understand you better, Morte, than ever.
That's good.
And I do see the value in what you shared, and I do agree with a lot of the sentiment of using social media to be more one-on-one.
I mean, the problem with me is, like, you say social media, and I don't see social media. All I see is communication. Like, social media goes back to the logo. Like, now you're thinking of social media as, you know, these big players, and I don't see it as social media at all. I don't care what it is. I literally don't care.
See, I know...
I don't care what the app is. All I care about is that I can connect with a human. Like, that is allowing me to connect to a human. If there is another human in Australia that's going to see this video, whatever platform allowed that to happen, I'm grateful for that platform. If it happened on audio, if it happened on video, if it happened on words, if it happened on images, the only reason that it happened is because we're living right now.
Do you think that we're less connected in person?
You literally set up a podcast studio by yourself.
Yeah.
You have microphones, you have cameras, and this is going to go to thousands, tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of people. How is that going to happen? That's going to happen because we're living through the greatest time ever.
It's true, but I also chose to do it in person.
Yeah, you chose, but whether you did it in person or whether you didn't, it still would get distributed, is my point.
That's true. I guess the point that the other thing I wonder sometimes is that if we're putting more time and energy into digital relationships, our human, physical, in-person relationships suffering?
No, not at all. I mean, I think we have a digital hospitality community that we started on Clubhouse. Literally, Clubhouse, the audio app that happened during the pandemic. You had to get invited to go onto it. We started having our Cali BBQ media calls. Literally, our calls were like, why don't we just build in public and just have our team meetings on Clubhouse? So me and Stover and Toby and TJ and Ian back in the day, we started meeting on Clubhouse. It started once a week, and then we started doing it twice a week. And all of a sudden, we started having a digital hospitality community of people that were in restaurants, people that were in sales, people that were in marketing, people that were content creators, joining these Clubhouse calls. And we started doing it consistently. These are online calls, audio only, no video. Now those same calls are happening on LinkedIn because LinkedIn built a platform for audio only calls.
So you moved away from...
So we moved away from Clubhouse. We're doing it on LinkedIn.
Cool.
Now, how many people join the calls? Probably anywhere from 15 to 40 people, probably the most that we have.
That's awesome.
But those 40 humans that will join the call, now it's getting repurposed on our digital hospitality feed. Those 40 humans are rotating. So, you know, we probably have a community of, you know, over 100 people, maybe 200 people. But those people all believe in each other, and they're all in different parts of the globe.
Yeah.
And when we went to Chicago on Saturday, Sunday, Monday at 4:30, we had a digital hospitality meetup where people that I've never met in real life, the only reason we're meeting is because we meet online. We met in real life, and we were the only meetups that were happening.
Yeah. I see value in that.
That's happening because we believe in digital and in real life.
I see
they don't
value
happen in a vacuum.
Yeah, I see value in that. I still do think that energy put into a more local community, like take that mindset of sharing across the nation and bring it to like your community locally. I just feel like it would hit so much harder. It would have a bigger impact personally, is what I believe. And I think you can't do both. You have to choose. You can't be present in two places at once.
Well, I disagree. I mean, that's literally
you can broadcast a present.
I mean, literally the work that I do with David Meltzer, my mentor, is the stage theory. Like the world is your stage. We made a joke before you started podcasting that I was doing video, and you're like, Shawn, you never know when Shawn's doing video. And what did I say to you?
I think you said, yeah, you never know.
I said, did we do it if we didn't record it?
Oh, right. Well, there's like
did it even happen?
Into physics and
did it even happen if it wasn't recorded?
Yeah, there's a lot of evidence to suggest if that a human doesn't see something happening.
Yes.
Like in the reality, I forget what they call it, but it's like this idea that they watch protons. And if you're not looking through the hole watching the proton acts a different way. So like, is reality just the observation of something happening? Is that reality?
My point is that I live my life and I choose to document my life. And because I've done that, I've gotten incredible opportunities I never would have otherwise. There's
truth to that.
Like that's my thesis because I've lived it.
Right.
I just know it for a fact. Like I would not, this restaurant where we're located, anybody that's watching this can go on Google Maps, 8910 Troy Street, go to Google Earth and see where our restaurant is located. See the type of buildings that are around us, see the community. We love Spring Valley, but our restaurant is not going to end up on any Michelin star, on any, top restaurant destination, but people know about our restaurant because of the internet.
It's fair.
I would not be at Toast's IPO. I would not have 2 shows with Toast if it wasn't for the internet.
Right. I do want to talk about AI. We started talking about that. So what are your thoughts when I say that? What comes to mind?
So I told you the best use of AI that I have right now is Fireflies for my Zoom calls.
Records, takes notes.
Every single call that I go on, Fireflies comes into the room and it records all of the calls and summarizes the calls. Yeah. Tells me how many questions were asked, tell me the takeaways, summarizes the report, full transcript and audio, video of the recording. Why is that valuable? Well, it's valuable for me, for someone like me that records.
Right.
But I also have team members that can't make it to calls. So if a team member can't make it to a call, they can go through and find out, well, what did the client talk about? What are the needs? What do we need to make sure that we execute? Here's the transcript. Very powerful stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm using AI for mostly with the podcast, like the editing. Yep. There's AI in the background that if I just tell it, I'm on track 1, audio in track 1, video, my guest is on track 2, in track 2.
Yep.
You line everything up, you hit edit, and it just goes, and it just like, that would be hours of editing.
Correct.
Cut down to literally like 15 seconds. So I do see AI, the value of AI for sure. How do you feel about ChatGPT?
I try to use it every day. So I actually was just playing with it yesterday. We have another show that we're launching with some restaurant folks. We haven't made the announcement yet, but some significant restaurant leaders in the tech space and restaurant space. Another show that I needed to add, but I was just playing around in a group chat with them, creating a logo for the show using ChatGPT and the AI image generator.
Yeah.
And it's incredible how well it does creating an image, literally having a graphic designer in your pocket.
Yeah, it's only getting better.
And you just prompt it and you tell it what you want, and then you tell it to fix it, and you say it's not good enough, and then you make it better. Like the problem that I have is I need everything made mobile. I don't use a desktop. I hate using my desktop. I have one that I have in my office, my recording studio, but I try to use it as little as possible. I use my laptop just to record my podcasts, but I want everything mobile. So if it's not mobile, it's hard for me. And ChatGPT is only good data in. So I need someone from my team going in to really figure out what's the most valuable thing for Cali BBQ Media. How do we synthesize all of my interviews, all of your interviews? How do you synthesize that? part of all of this content that you and I have done is like, how do you create a museum?
Right.
You can have 5 million paintings, but you can only put up so many good paintings.
Right.
How do you put those best paintings up so that somebody that just discovers Eric Cacciatore restaurant, they go, okay, well, I want to learn about pizza business.
Right.
Like, what are your best pizza podcasts?
Right.
So it's like, how do you do that? Well, AI is going to help us do that, but it's not there yet. Like we still need the things to happen before it gets to, you know, help me curate that museum.
Yeah. I mean, I see there's definite benefits there. I wonder where as AI evolves, and I think more, I don't think everybody loves creating content, for the record. I think a lot of people
No,
who
for
are
sure. What's the number one fear that humans have?
Death. Or no, public speaking.
Public speaking.
Yeah.
And like, we don't think of creating content as public speaking, but it is modern public speaking.
Yeah.
Like talking to a camera, going on camera, publishing a video of yourself speaking. It's public speaking.
So the tie up my thought, I think as AI evolves, as the copyright gets better, right? As the image generation gets better, as the video generation gets better, I think that it's going to be one of these things that AI is first delegated to take over, because people are just like, sweet, I don't have to worry about social media anymore. And it's going to get to the point where it's so good where we don't know if a person is talking to us or a prompt is talking to us. So now we have AI generating content for algorithms to be geared towards human persuasion and manipulation, behavioral decision making. Are people going to want to be on social media when they know that's happening?
See, you keep saying social media.
Fucking media, the story, whatever.
The internet.
Is it like
it's the internet?
The internet. Are people going to want to be on the internet?
The internet. It's either the internet. Like, you have to figure out a way to remove social media from because social media it's so loaded.
But back to
when
the
you
question.
say social media, it's the internet.
So the internet.
The internet.
So when the internet.
The question is, do I want to be non-digital or do I want to be digital with AI?
So the question is,
understanding what's happening with AI.
As the world and AI evolve.
Yes.
Are we creating this place, this world where it's going to be so hard to discern between reality and manipulation, and like, is this a true person behind this message, or is this an algorithm generating a message that looks like a real person?
Yep.
Are we breaking the internet? Are we creating an ecosystem that's going to be so full of distrust? Why not?
Because humans are distrustful as is. The internet's just like, I truly believe that this has always happened. Humans are distrustful. Right. There are a lot of humans that are full of shit.
But I think that there's a sliding scale of the level of just distrust at any given point.
Sure.
But when you make it easier for the distrustful people to be trusted, or to, you know what I'm saying? It's becoming a slippery slope. But I still think at the end of the day, if I'm making a decision for something, it's going to be based off of a conversation I've had with somebody sitting across the table from me. That's just how I'm wired. I think it's going to get so bad where that's going to be the only thing we can trust. I wonder sometimes if the Googles of the world are like self-imploding because they're investing in the AI and it's going to be their demise.
I don't know. I mean, for me, that's beyond the scope of what
That's where I love to hang out, bro. That's the sweet spot for me. I like
you love to hang out
because it's fucking fascinating, dude. I think that's
but for me, like, I can't get over the fact that you're sitting right here in front of me and we're meeting in real life. And if it wasn't for the internet, I wouldn't know you.
There's truth to that.
Like, you wouldn't have, like, New Hampshire.
Right.
Literally, you left New Hampshire to come to Spring Valley.
Right. But
why? Because of stories that you and I have heard over the internet, on social media.
There's
like, literally, we are sitting, living proof.
There is value.
And there's somebody that's going to listen to this. Whether it's one person, whether it's 100, whether there's 1,000 that are going to send us a message and go, Eric, I love your show. Yeah. Please keep doing your show.
Yeah.
You make running my restaurant better because of the stories that you're telling, because of the guests that you're bringing on. Not because they got to sit here in real life. They're not sitting here.
Yeah.
They're only sitting, listening.
I do want to say,
driving their car, sitting in their kitchen because of the fucking internet.
I'm not arguing that.
What are we talking about?
There is value in that.
There's 1,000% value in it.
There is value in that, but I'm just,
that's the global community.
I like to create awareness about where are we going. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, where we're
mindfulness of like what's the future look like and how can we influence it instead of be
the way that we influence is exactly what you're doing.
Right.
You're doing the work.
Yeah.
You're worried about something that neither one of us can control. But what we can control,
I think we can control it.
But what we can control is the decisions that we make for the guests that you choose to have on, for the guests that I choose to have on, the intent that we make as humans. That's the only thing we can control.
Right.
You and I have that responsibility, and anyone that's a leader that's listening to this, we have that responsibility to pick the people that we believe in, invest in, and that those communities that we build. If we choose to build better communities, if we choose to make better conversations, if we choose with intent the things that we put up on Instagram, forget about what Instagram's doing or Meta or TikTok. What do we choose to put up?
Right.
Who cares how many people see it?
And I do believe in that message. I think that there's a lot of crap out there, but you get to choose what you put into the world. And
Yeah.
I try to put as much positive stuff out there. I see that you're doing that too. And there's good out there. There's good out there. For sure. I mean, I've really enjoyed today's conversation. We're at almost an hour and 50 minutes of recording.
That's it?
That's it. It goes by fast though, doesn't it?
That's it.
I don't know, man. I like the long format. I would want to continue talking to you after we stop hitting record.
Are we done?
No, we're not yet.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything that we haven't discussed that you'd like to bring to the conversation?
I think, given the big topics that we've discussed today, I think one of the most important messages that I hope anybody that stayed this long, that's listened this long, understand Cali BBQ and myself personally, we got to a very dark place because we thought that someone was going to come and tell our story. We thought that if we busted our ass in our restaurant in 2008, 2009, 2010, and we made great barbecue, somebody would write about us. A local newspaper would come, a local magazine, a local radio station, a local TV station, and nobody came. And it was depressing, it was sad, but it was also empowering. So if you're listening to this, understand that no one is coming.
Unless you have a lot of money.
No one is coming. Even if you have a lot of money, no one can tell the story better than you can.
There's truth to that.
No one can tell your brand story, your restaurant story, your entrepreneurial story better than you can. No one wants to hear it. People want to hear from you, the person that's listening to this. If you cared enough, back to stay curious, get involved, ask for help, this is you getting involved.
Yeah.
Understanding that your voice matters. And no matter what Eric thinks of the internet and social media, I am telling you, and Eric is telling you, that your voice matters. Your community cares about you. You have all of the tools at your fingertips to publish content. You don't need to pay YouTube. You don't need to pay Instagram. You don't need to pay Facebook. You can make a video on LinkedIn today and talk about why did you open up your restaurant. I'm going to tell you a story.
Go for it.
So right behind me, you can't see it on camera, but maybe we'll take some photos and we'll include them afterwards. Right behind me is an orange tree. There's an orange tree at the front of my restaurant. So when you walk into Cali BBQ, orange tree, very unassuming orange tree. And I've come up with an orange tree theory, that every restaurant has an orange tree. I also believe that every business has an orange tree. Now, why do I talk about the orange tree? Well, I've been doing this for 16 years, creating content, doing social media, creating podcasts, doing other types of media. And yet I've never talked about the orange tree. Why not? Well, I'll tell you about this orange tree. This orange tree was planted by my grandfather, who's a Bulgarian, who raised me, and my uncle, who's Bulgarian as well. Back when we first started this restaurant, back in 1994, our family took over this restaurant. That's when I was a dishwasher, bussing tables. They planted this orange tree, and there was a fountain there. That orange tree stayed there throughout multiple different changes in ownership, all the way until 2008 when Corey and myself, one of my best friends from college, opened up Cali BBQ. That orange tree and that fountain, my grandfather passed away in 2008, the year that we opened up. I still have a picture of him at the fountain, me and him in front of the orange tree. 2 years after my grandfather passed away, we had a Monday night football game. The Monday night football game between the Chargers and the Raiders, two fans from both teams, Chargers and Raiders, started fighting in that fountain that my grandfather built. They broke the fountain. The fountain crashed into a million pieces. I was devastated.
You bet.
We fixed the fountain. We rebuilt a different fountain. The orange tree still stayed there. Fast forward to the pandemic. We decided to build out this smokehouse. So we can add photos, but there's 3 smokers where our back patio is. Now, in order to build this smokehouse, I had Gene Goycochea, my pitmaster, Howard Solomon, who we talked about before, our Eric Olafson, who is my business partner, Steven, my wife, myself, and Keith, all sitting here trying to figure out how to plan this master smokehouse and how to build this back patio so that we can get barbecue in, how we can get barbecue out to the stadium, to the other locations. And guess what the problem was?
I don't know.
The problem was the orange tree.
Okay.
It was in the way.
So you kept it?
No, the orange tree was in the way. So we all decided we need to remove the orange tree. It only makes sense to remove the orange tree. Do you know what happened?
No.
My wife said, "You're not moving the fucking orange tree. That's Grandpa's orange tree."
Yeah.
My wife is Bulgarian. My wife fought multiple meetings to keep that orange tree. That orange tree sits in front of our restaurant as deep roots, as a deep story to persistence, to continuity, to family, to community. Every single person that's listening to this show has an orange tree story. But we don't share it.
How does she win the story?
How does she win the story?
Yeah. Or win the orange tree or not?
How
does she win the argument to keep the orange tree?
She won on family.
Yeah.
She won on tradition.
Yeah.
She won on understanding that it's bigger than barbecue. Like what we're doing here is bigger than restaurants. It's the story. It's the story that matters. And if we don't care about the story, if we don't care about the things that we decided, why did we open up our restaurants? Every single restaurant has an orange tree story. There's a photo when you walk into the restaurant, the name of the restaurant, the sign, the certain dish, the thing behind the bar, the weird piece of furniture that everyone's wanted to remove, but nobody wants to remove it because it's Grandpa's couch. Whatever that is in whatever that restaurant, there's intent behind why did the founders decide to put whatever they put there. So if you're listening to this, find your orange tree story and talk more about it.
Yeah.
This is a reminder for me to talk more about the orange tree.
And good on your wife for choosing not to get rid of the orange tree. Props to her. Shawn, this has been a lot of fun, man. So I ask all my guests at the end of every interview. I've taken you through the original interview. I've asked you the standard questions I ask people. But I do want this next question to be my North Star. And you've already recommended one person to me before coming here. But who do you respect and admire? Who's doing it right in San Diego, in Southern California? Who do I need to get on the show?
You have to get Troy Hooper. I know you've already had Troy Hooper on the show, but the amount of progress that he has made.
He's in LA, right?
Personally and professionally. He's in Irvine.
Okay.
But Hot Pepper Lunch Restaurants and Hot Palate America is the parent company for North America. But what he's doing on the franchise side.
It's a Chinese-based company?
Japanese-based. Yeah, Japanese-based. Hot beef pepper rice is the story. But what he's done in the franchise space to bring leadership, to bring accountability, to bring financial stability, and to bring storytelling, content. He just launched his own show, The Pineapple Perspective.
Nice.
But he does videos. He's leaned really hard into videos, into showing instead of telling franchisors, franchisees, what they're going to be getting into. He's been phenomenal. He's just a phenomenal leader. Yeah. You have to make a trip up there. You have to see the operation, what they've done, because I know that you focus a lot on SMB, but to be honest with you, your content speaks to a lot of large restaurant groups. It speaks to a lot of franchisees. And
I will say,
I know you're the huge advocate for the independent business, but like we all need each other.
Right. I speak to a lot more larger companies today. And that was one of my points of evolution. And for the record, yeah, absolutely. I've had Troy on the show. Would love to get him back on the show. He's always welcome. Thank you for resurfacing his name. I do think that there's a lot we can learn from the larger organizations. I think we need to treat our little businesses like big businesses.
I agree.
So I do go after those 10 to 50 unit operators more and more.
There is a lot of lessons that I've learned over the time. Just, I mean, talk to a restaurant owner that's gone from 3 locations to 5.
Yeah.
It's like completely different ball game.
We can learn a lot from the Chiefs.
Yeah.
That's for sure. There's
Yeah.
a lot to be learned there. So they're definitely on my radar. Troy, we'd love to get you back on the show. And you mentioned the folks behind the seafood concept that's escaping my mind.
Michael Ungaro.
Yes.
San Pedro Fish Market.
Yes.
Kings of Fish premiering on Amazon Prime. So, like, literally, I can't believe that it took me as long as it did. Shout out to Stephen Ronau, who puts together this networking lunch. He's a phenomenal leader. He puts together this Southern California networking lunch, but he invited me up to San Pedro Fish Market to meet Michael Ungaro and his family. We just featured them on a family-style episode that's going to come out soon for Toast.
Nice.
But Kings of Fish is their 4th generation, premiering on Amazon Prime. It's like Duck Dynasty, but for the fish business. They are one of the most successful restaurants in all of the United States, and he's got a phenomenal story.
Look out, fellas. I'm coming after you. I'd love to get you guys on the show. And how can we connect with you?
We make it very easy. Yeah. I'm weirdly available. Shawn P. Walchef, ShawnPWalchef. Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. You can email me, Shawn@CaliBBQ.media. Big on LinkedIn. If you're listening to this, restaurateurs, I think LinkedIn's a gold mine. I think you can connect on the B2B side if you're starting to think about how can you make B2B content for the vendor partners that you have. I'm happy to have that conversation as well.
Yep. And wherever you're listening to this, be sure to check out the show notes, whether it be on iTunes or Spotify. You just scroll down right from the player, and we'll have the links with how to connect to Shawn right there for you to make it easy. And Shawn, this is where I say, man, thank you so much for making time for me. Thank you for sharing your perspective. I do value it as much as it might seem like I don't. I just like to be the counterpart sometimes. It's
You're
fun.
a brother, man.
It's fun.
We're in this together.
It's fun to play devil's advocate.
Rising tide lifts all ships.
This has been a lot of fun. Thank you for your support. And there is no questioning, man. You are unstoppable.